Like,
on
oh
my phone.
no.
So
Oh my
I
God, I
totally-
would love to, yes.
This is aspirational, this background, just for the record.
Oh,
all I got.
Okay, was that a
I'm really trying
mountain
to go
man
put
that
back
just
on the
spoke
shelf.
to us? Is this a wilderness retreat somebody's on? I gotta get with these fake backgrounds. I don't even know what I would go for.
Alex is in like a hunting nest or something like that.
Yeah, I think he's gone undercover to kind of apprehend some of the insurrectionists or something. You know, like seriously. Oh.
So we are live on Facebook. We just accepted a public to come in. I think we're ready to start. So Leah, if you wanna, whenever you're ready.
Sorry, I was asking, do we have a quorum to be able to start?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wednesday, February 24th meeting of the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee. My name is Leah Lacroix. I'm your first vice chair, and I will be acting chair for the beginning portion of this meeting until item number 6, when David will, or Chair Campos will resume being chair. I think this is just, out of an abundance of caution because we have candidates coming to present for the California Democratic Party Executive Officer kind of Q&A session. So with that said, I would like to call this meeting to order at 6:36. May I please have a roll call?
Absolutely, First Vice Chair Lacroix. I just want to know if you are here as a proxy, can you just say your name so I have it in the notes? But I'll get started. Member Avalos.
Present.
Member Baraka. Member Barry.
Present.
Chair Campos. Member Chen. Member Dufty.
Here.
Member Galata.
Here.
Member Haney. Member Ibanez.
Here, proxy Ryan McGilly.
Thanks, Ryan. Member Kim.
Here.
Member Lacroix.
Present.
Member Lee here. Member Loftus.
Here.
Thanks. Member Lovett.
Here.
Member Mandelman. Member Marr.
Here by proxy, Edward Wright.
Thanks, Edward. Member Mahogany.
Here.
Member Maliga.
Here by proxy, Alina Lingapa.
Thank you. Member Morales.
Here.
Member Raju.
Here by proxy, Carolyn Houston.
Thanks, Carolyn. Member Ronan.
Here by proxy,
Who is that? Is that
Santiago Lerma.
Santi? Thanks. Member Thomas.
Here.
Member Tung. Yep, I see you, Nancy.
I'm here, thanks.
Member Chanel Williams.
Here.
Thanks. And then Member Feinstein. Member Pelosi. Member Spear.
Here by proxy, Brian Perkins.
Thanks, Brian. Member Kounalakis.
Here by proxy, Megan Mullins.
Thank you, Megan. Member Ma. Member Cohen.
Proxy, Tyra Fennell.
Thanks, Tyra. Member Weiner.
Proxy, Nima Rahimi.
Thanks, Nima. Member Ting.
Proxy, Alex Walker.
Thanks, Alex. Member Chu.
Proxy, Austin Hunter.
Thanks, Austin. I'm just going to go back to the people who didn't say anything. Member Baraka.
Here.
Thank you. Member Chair Campos. Member Chen. Member Haney. And Member Mandelman.
Member Lee, for David Campos is going to join us around 7 because he has another commitment, and Mandelman asked the Chair Campos to be his proxy.
Okay. Well noted. Okay, great. That's roll call and we definitely have quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to item 2, which is the approval of the meeting agenda. Please take a moment to look over the agenda. And when everyone is ready, I can invite a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I hear a motion from member Williams, second by member Duffy. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 You're going to have to unmute yourself, guys. Ayes, any nays? Without any opposition, this agenda item is approved, and we're going to move on to the item 3, which is the approval of the meeting minutes from our January 27th meeting. Again, please take a moment to look over, and I'll invite a motion whenever anyone's ready.
Motion to approve?
Information on the minutes.
I hear a motion, but I also see that member Barry has a comment. So member Barry?
Yes, in the minutes when the meeting was adjourned, it was adjourned in honor of Margaret Cresci, and her last name is not on there. So I'll put the spelling of her last name in the chat.
I'll change that.
Thank you
Thank you, member Barry.
So I did hear a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Loftus.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing
Aye.
no opposition, the minutes are approved. And now we're going to move on to item 4, which is the election of the California Democratic Party Executive Officers, introduction of candidates. We are going to have this is a continuation of a process that we started at our January 27th meeting, where we heard from a few candidates who were seeking to be a member of the executive board of the CDP. And we are excited for this meeting to have quite a few candidates come and speak about their qualifications and their desire to serve in respective roles such as secretary, vice chair, party chair, and party controller. So we're going to have 2 minutes for candidates to provide us with a presentation, and then we're going to have another 2 minutes for candidates to answer questions that we have for them. So please keep that in mind, and if you have a question for any particular candidate, please be sure to raise your hand or put your name in the stack in the chat when the time is ready, and kind of have your questions jotted down in advance. Are there any questions before we get started? Nope. All right, so let's bring on our first candidate, Melahat Rafi, who is a candidate for the California Democratic Party Secretary. And I apologize in advance if I've mispronounced your name, so please correct me.
So she's with us right now. I'm asking her to reactivate her microphone and her video. Can you hear us? Yes, you can hear me, but I cannot see you. You're with a, oh, yes, you unmute yourself. I think you're good.
Oh, yeah, I think you've got me on. So Melahat's on another one as well. This is Corey.
Oh, okay. So let me try to find her. Yes. Thank you, Corey.
We did it. We did it. Thank
Hey.
you, everybody. So, hi,
All
everybody.
right. Hi, thank you so much for joining us. I'm just going to repeat the process in case you didn't hear, but we're going to have 2 minutes for you to provide us with a presentation of your qualifications and why you are interested in running, and anything else you want to share. And then we're going to have 2 minutes for Q&A. And time goes by pretty quickly, so just letting you know, but we're so happy to have you here. So the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And you did pronounce it right. It is Melahat. For those of you I don't know, I do see some friends on the call. For those of you that I don't know, my name is Melahat Rafi. I'm a DNC member and campaign consultant in Southern California. What you might need to learn about me, what you may want to know about me that's really relevant to why I do what I do is, want to sit down, buddy? I'm a single mom to this awesome kid who loves Star Wars. I came to America as a refugee when I was 5 years old with my family. My sister was 3, my brother was 1, I was 5, and my parents did the most heroic thing they could by leaving Iran in the 1983 and coming to America. We went through Pakistan, Israel, and Italy before we got asylum to the United States. And when we got here, we were actually just south of you in Milpitas. We lived in Milpitas for about 6 or 7 years first before coming down to Southern California. That shapes what I do. Living in poverty, being here with $500 and not knowing anybody, having that story, seeing how much my parents sacrificed to make sure that we had what we needed is why I do what I do. As professionally, I'm a campaign consultant that helps get women of color, members of the LGBTQ community, members of the disabled community elected to local office. Just last cycle, my firm won 9 out of 10 of the races we worked on, getting the first woman of color ever elected to the West Hollywood City Council, the first Cambodian woman in the Long Beach City Council, first Korean woman to the Irvine City Council, first Muslim mayor of a major city in the Irvine City Council, and the list goes on and on and on. I've been doing this for a long time. I was executive director of the Democratic Party of Orange County before it was a big blue tsunami, and it was as red as my lipstick, 2007 to 2009, and we registered voters and we got people engaged and involved. It wasn't a tsunami, it was a harvest of years and decades of activists very much like you in the Central Committee doing that work. I don't know if I'm at my 2 minutes or not, but I want to be able to take your questions, so I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. Since you kept it nice and short, I will invite people to ask questions. Do we have any questions for this candidate?
I can ask a question. Hi.
Thank you.
What's your son's name?
His name is Keon.
Hi, Keon. Thanks for sharing your mom with us. It's awesome that she's running for office. What do you want? What should the secretary do? I feel sort of ignorant in even knowing. Like, what do you want to do? I'm sure you're doing it for a good reason. So I'd love to hear why.
Well, you're not ignorant. The fact is that it's very vague what the roles of the officers are. And for that reason, I think we need to have some defined roles for the officers. But traditionally, the secretary role in a central committee or club is taking notes of the meetings and reporting them to the delegates, which we have great staff to do that at the CDP. What I like to do as leader and an executive of this party is focus on our bench, and not just the candidates. Some of you may have heard me say this before, but in 4 to 6 years, 60% of the Democrats that are in office right now in the state, Senate, and the Assembly will be termed out. That's our supermajority. We need to have candidates that are running for supervisor, city council, school board that are battle tested and ready to fill that bench when it's time for us to make sure we have Democrats to continue to be elected. Beyond that, we need folks like myself, like Corey, who you saw on the call earlier, who are running campaigns, doing fundraising, doing volunteer turnout. That infrastructure of the back of the team. Not everyone's going to want to run for office. God bless all of you that do. You risk all your friendships and everything else for doing so. But having the infrastructure of a campaign team as well, the party should be the #1 training ground for all of that. And I hope to do that with my leadership. Those of you who know me know I'm kind of loud, I'm not quiet. So I do plan on making my voice heard about these issues that affect central committees. You're the heart and soul of our party, and it should be from you up instead of the top down.
Thank you.
You agree? Yeah.
So if there are no more questions, I'm seeing that we are actually done with the 2 minutes for Q&A. So I know, like I said, time goes by pretty quickly. So thank you, Malahat, for joining us. We wish you best of luck on the road to this election at the CDP.
Thank you. I will be calling all of you. You will get a number, a 949 number calling you at some point. Please don't avoid me. I will keep calling you like a crazy ex-girlfriend until you pick up and we have some answer one way or another. And I mean that in the best way possible. Thanks for all that you do, not just in San Francisco and beyond. I know that you're such a blue county that you spread that everywhere. We appreciate it. And I will be in touch with you all soon.
I'm a crazy boy.
He's a little crazy. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you again. All right. So next we have Chair Rusty Hicks, who is a candidate for seeking re-election to be the chair of the California Democratic Party. Is he here with us, Karima?
Yes,
I am.
he's here with us. Hi.
Hello, Chair Hicks. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm not sure, so I'm just going to repeat. We have 2 minutes for Q&A, and then we have 2 minutes for a presentation, and then we have another 2 minutes for Q&A.
Good deal.
So the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, San Francisco Democrats, for the opportunity to be with you this evening. I know I've only got 2 minutes. I only aspire to talk as fast as Malahat can talk. I'll try to squeeze it in, but certainly am proud to be with you and proud of the work that we've been able to do together over the last 18 months. I stepped into this role in June of 2019 and was elected in San Francisco. So while I'm from Southern California, I've been grateful that San Francisco has been good to me and good to our party. I was proud that we were able to stabilize our party and then quickly turn to the work. The statewide coordinated campaign that engaged more than 57,000 volunteers doing work here in California and around the country. And I think it built a solid foundation from which we can continue to grow. Doing the work we do in an election season on a year-round basis. The reality is we've gotten pretty good at winning elections, but not as good at winning important policies that improve people's lives, whether it's Medicare for all or a Green New Deal or criminal justice reform. We have to organize after Election Day to make that happen. 2, we've got to continue to invest in the infrastructure of our party, communications, training, recruiting and training the next generation of public servants and grassroots leaders, investing in our fundraising infrastructure, raising the small dollar donor contributions it takes to fund the work of this party. And lastly is to continue the cultural change we started in mid-2019. Ensuring that our party is a place where every person is seen, every voice is heard, and every Democrat has a seat at the table where decisions are really made related to our collective work. So I've been proud of what we've been able to do in 18 short months. I know there's more to do and look forward to the opportunity to continue to do it. So thank you for the opportunity this evening and look forward to your questions.
If you have any questions, colleagues, please put your name in the chat. I see Vice Chair Galata.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lacroix. Thank you, Chair Hicks, for joining us tonight. Good to see you. Thanks for your leadership. My question is about the ADEM elections. I've heard that there were ballots, like 1,000 ballots that were not counted because they either went to voters late, were delayed by the post office, or they weren't returned by the deadline. And is that true? And how can the party ensure there's better process for the ADEM elections moving forward? I know this was a new process this year because it was virtual, but how can we do better?
Well, let me first just say I can fully appreciate the anxiety of every voter and every candidate related to this process because I've felt it personally over the last 12 weeks. We have essentially become a mid-sized county registrar's office overnight. We are currently and have launched the assessment phase of that process. We've not pushed it off to the fall. We're doing it now. To your specific question, there were approximately 1,000 votes that were postmarked on February 3rd, but arrived after the deadline, which is different than what the statewide officers had come together when we moved the deadline a second time in order to allow more people to vote. There is a challenge that has been filed with the CRC, the Compliance Review Commission. They have sent notice out to all of the candidates and have scheduled a hearing on March the 1st to potentially address that issue and determine how best to move forward. I think the ADEMS process is a real opportunity, an organizing opportunity for our party. It is an unprecedented process. We had hoped to have some in-person option this year. The executive board was not having it. The executive board made the decision to have an all vote by mail process, frankly, an overly reliant process on the United States Postal Service. My hope is we can have a better hybrid in the future, and we've begun the assessment to do that.
Thank you. I see a question from Member Berry.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Rusty. At an executive board meeting in Santa Clara County, there was a Black women panel where different Black women like Pamela Price, who's running for DA in Alameda County, and so forth, expressed their frustrations of being a Black woman in politics. And you were there and you got up and left. My question is, why did you leave? And also, what do you see as future for Black women in California, being that we are the most loyal to the Democratic Party?
Well, I remember that great panel because I was there, and I believe I remained for the majority of the event. It was during all of the other caucuses that were taking place at the exact same time. And so I try to get around to every single caucus. The vast majority of time that I had was dedicated to that event. And I've continued to program with the speakers that were a part of that panel since then. You know, I think the future for Black women in our party is bright. I think we've got a number of candidates for statewide officer that are running. We've got new leadership in county committees in Santa Barbara, Riverside, Napa, and Sacramento just in the past 6 months, 8 months alone. And I think we have a real opportunity to engage on the local level from a candidate level. We supported candidates like Rhodesia Ransom, who's running for county supervisor in San Joaquin County, and we'll continue to support candidates like that all across the state.
Well, we are out of time for questions, but I encourage everyone here to follow up with Chair Hicks if they want to continue this conversation, or if they want to learn more about his candidacy and his seeking re-election as party chair. Thank you, Chair Hicks, again for joining us this evening, and best of luck on the path to the election.
Yeah, my cell phone is in the chat. Feel free to give me a call. It's on several billboards on highways at this point. So if it's there, you should feel free to call, shoot me a text message so I can answer your questions. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. All right, next we have Daraka Larimore Hall is a candidate for this vice chair for the CDP. Is Daraka here with us?
Yes, he is here with us. I'm bringing him on the side of the panelists. The panelist side, let me see where it is. It's here. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, we can see you and hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you until just now. So
you're good.
Okay. So it's my 2 minutes starting.
Yes, so welcome, Daraka. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, it's 2 minutes for your presentation and then another 2 minutes for Q&A. And then when your time is up, I'll be sure to let folks know. So with that, the floor is yours.
Thanks. So my name is Daraka Larimore Hall. My pronouns are he, him. And I got involved in the Democratic Party coming up on 20 years ago as a club activist in Santa Barbara, along with a lot of folks who had gotten engaged through the Howard Dean campaign and other campaigns, wanting to really remake the party into something more democratic, more reliably progressive, and more grassroots driven. And so I've been a reform activist in the party and advocate at every level. First running for and losing my first election for county committee, then eventually becoming chair of that committee for over 10 years and helping move Santa Barbara from purple county to one that sends reliable Democratic champions to Sacramento and Washington. And through all of that experience, I've tried to be an independent voice. And by that, I mean not beholden to or worried about what one group of elected officials will think, or that group of elected officials, or this chair or that chair. I was elected vice chair by over 86% of the vote in 2016. It feels like an absolute eon ago. But through everything that's happened over the last 4 years, I've tried to be a consistent truth teller and tried to stand up for the party and put the party first. So that's meant being an advocate for real structural change that can make sure that there isn't the insulation around the chair that allowed the abuse of Eric Bauman to go on in plain sight for so long. It's meant all the way up until now and challenging the fact that we take it as an assumption that the only person in the California Democratic Party who should decide where we spend resources or which races we prioritize is the chair and the chair alone. So again, I'm trying to instill in this party a kind of mutual patriotism. We're a coalition, a loose coalition of that, at that, not only of disparate ideological groups and people from different walks of life, but also elected officials, unions, social movement organizations, and individual activists. As a party leader, I've always tried to maintain that no one of those groups should dominate, and that everyone should have a voice and everyone should have real power. I've been chastised a lot for using the word power, but sorry, this was how I was brought up, is to think about power in organizations. And so, so that means that, sometimes there's folks, my fellow leftists, who are disappointed when I say, no, all of the elected shouldn't be purged from the party. But likewise, it meant that I had to stand up to our legislators when they wanted to vote for AB 84 and flood politics with even more corporate money.
We
Sorry,
are over
I'm out.
the 2 minutes. Sorry to interrupt, but just trying to keep the train moving. And so we're over 2 minutes for the presentation portion, but we do have time for Q&A. And I see that we have Member Barry in the stack, and just encouraging all of my other colleagues, if you have a question for this candidate, please write your name in the stack so I can kind of keep track of where things are. So Member Barry, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair LaCroix. Hi, Jaraka. My question is similar to Member Galata's question earlier. I don't know if you heard about the ADEM elections. This last election, I saw some of the communications between you and state delegates, and it wasn't really clear, your explanation of what actually happened. Could you clarify any of that?
I'll try to do my best in 2 minutes. A lot happened. And I think the core thing that happened was there was a big rush to have as big election as possible with as many voters as possible, and no thought about its actual democratic relevance to the organization or, the sanity of our staff. And so we just were like, we just should get lots of ballots in. And very early on in the process of people requesting ballots, staff flagged, hey, we're getting tons of requests from the same login, from the same email address. So obviously, even though we said in all of our stated rules to everyone, you have to request your own ballot. I mean, here's ways to do it online, or you can call staff. And there were lots of accessibility issues raised with that. But just like in a government election, you can't request ballots for other people. That happened in a gigantic scale. And I called it out when it was happening. I asked for access to the list. I was like, hey, can we look at this and nip it in the bud before we have to do it through CRC challenges or lawsuits? And was just told no. So we just rushed into it, and we ended up sending out hundreds of thousands of ballots to people that didn't request them at a cost of at least 150 grand for the party. So that's just one part of what happened, right? Then on top of it, because of no fault of staff, but because of problems with the post, you have a whole nother universe of people who requested ballots and didn't get them. And then there's at least 1,000 ballots that came in after the deadline. And these deadlines were a total mess to enforce. We kept moving them, et cetera. So to me, all of this, my takeaway is 5 heads are better than 1. We should stop having everything just be decided by the chair. Let's have these conversations. There's lots of smart people in the room. This was completely avoidable.
Thank you so much. I know that this is a conversation that we all want to dig a little bit deeper into, but we are out of time. So thank you, Jaraka, for joining us. And I encourage everybody to please, if you are interested in continuing this conversation with Jaraka, reach out to him and ask him the questions. Again, thank you so much, and
I'm
best
in
of luck on
lockdown. I'm very available. Thank you.
as we all are. So again, thank you so much for joining. Best of luck.
Thanks.
All right. So next we have Jenny Bach, who's a candidate for California Democratic Party Vice Chair. Do we have Jenny with us?
I'm here.
Yes.
Oh, hello.
Hi.
Thank
you so much.
Oh, there you go. I see you. All right. So I'm sure you already know, but we have 2 minutes for presentation, 2 minutes for Q&A. The floor is yours.
Great, thank you so much. Good evening, San Francisco Democrats, and thank you so much for inviting me and having me here tonight. My name is Jenny Bach, and I've had the privilege to serve as your CDP secretary for the past 4 years. And I'm here tonight to talk to you all about my candidacy for party vice chair and to share a bit about my background. I'm the daughter of Vietnamese refugees. My mom, who's one of 7, began her life in this country as a seamstress, and my dad, who's one of 11 kids, started out as a farm worker here in this country to put himself through school. In my current role, my current job is working in program coordination with the API Council on food security issues here in San Francisco and with organizations that train and mentor API candidates for office throughout the state. In 2017, I was elected as the first young Democrat to serve as a party officer in over 20 years. And as an activist and party officer, I've actively worked on trainings from youth engagement to hosting forums on party engagement and communications. I also organized for elections within and outside of our state this past election cycle. We've done so much together as a party, but there's still so much more to do. And this is why I would love an opportunity to continue to serve. As party vice chair, there are several key issues I'd like to focus and work on. The first is addressing misinformation that has spread rampantly and caused severe damage within our communities, especially our communities of color. We have to increase and strengthen our presence in, our communities in all regions of the state. We should also address affordability when it comes to the party. People shouldn't have to choose between volunteering while struggling to pay rent and bills. And as a party, we should also work on building the framework for small dollar contributions. I also feel that, we have to prioritize working with our undocumented immigrant activists to ensure that they have their voices heard in our party process. And lastly, we need to be more proactive in local bench building. Republicans actively recruit and support their young people. And as a party, we have to do better in building our own youth party pipeline. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak tonight. And I'm happy to answer your questions.
You are so good on time, like right to the last second.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Oh, so we have time for Q&A. Please drop your name in the chat. And yeah, you guys know the drill. Do we have any questions for Ms. Bach? Member Galata.
I'll ask a question. Hi, Jenny. Thanks so much for joining us. So we had a lot of victories at the ballot box in November, of course, but we lost on a number of key statewide ballot measures that were endorsed by the California Democratic Party. So I'm curious your thoughts on what happened and what do you think the party should do differently to support, the issues that we've endorsed? Sure.
So I mentioned misinformation because it was such a huge issue in our party, especially looking at, let's say, Prop 16, for example, right, on affirmative action. A lot of our communities were outreach to in language, but there were still pockets of people who were left with so much false information that was spread rampantly, on apps like Kakao and, other social media platforms, even mainstream ones like Facebook, for example, and they weren't stopped. And, something moving forward in the future, what I'd like to see with that is our party, either advocating or calling out Facebook for what it is, because it spreads such dangerous information, even on the election, right? But also on our ballot measures. It's also become a public health issue. Communities of color are hearing in language that vaccines can transplant microchips into your bloodstream. That's dangerous to public health, right? So, what happened there was, I think, a lot of that, and also funding. I think that we have to think about how much money goes into our messaging, how much money goes into outreach, do more innovative methods of outreach, digital targeting. I did volunteer and help with Prop 16. So I did phone banking and text banking, but that wasn't enough at the end of the day. So we definitely have to organize better in putting out a message that's digestible for people to understand. Thank you so much for your question. And also, I want to say that you are all organized as well on timing. So thank you.
That is a big thank you and shout out to our interns.
Wow.
For helping us with timing.
Great job.
Jason, he's texting me right now saying like, we're out of time. So it's very helpful. So yeah, just wanting to shout out the real magic behind the scenes. So Jenny, thank you so much for coming and for giving us a presentation and talking about your qualifications and why you're interested in running, and also speaking to Member Galata's question. I encourage everyone who's interested in learning more about Jenny or to follow up on this conversation to reach out to her. Her contact information is in the chat. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
Have a good rest of your evening.
You too. Take care.
All right. So next we have April Barrett, who's a candidate for the CDP controller. I believe
April is with us right now. Hello, April.
Hello. How are
Hi.
you? Should I start?
Yeah. So just to give you a rundown, it's 2 minutes presentation, 2 minutes Q&A.
Sorry, I'm so eager.
And I'll let your time is up.
Because I'm really bad at the 2-minute thing. So let me just start by saying I'm going to keep this as short and brief as I can, but I look forward to more opportunities to get to know you and have you get to know me so we can build together a vision for our state party. I am the president and leader of SEIU Local 2015, where we represent 400,000 long-term care workers across the state of California, about 25,000 right in San Francisco County. So I feel like San Francisco is a part of the big state that I call home. I'm a Chicago girl, and that's really important to who I am and how I lead. I grew up raised by a grandmother. I didn't have a lot, but I had everything I needed. But I learned perseverance. I learned to be proud. I learned not to take things for granted. And I learned to fight like hell. I fight like hell every day for the workers of 2015. And when you elect me controller, I will fight like hell for the Democrats and the working people across the state of California. There are 5 pieces to my platform. One is a party powered by clean money. Second is stewardship, strong stewardship, transparent with integrity of our party resources at every single level. The third is to build an actively anti-racist organization. We have to do that for women who look like me, but also for every single one of you, because racism keeps us all back. The fourth is to build a bigger table for working people where we can build our power. And last but not least, to invest in the next generation of leaders. We have to build grassroots infrastructure and power if we are going to make sure our state continues to lead our country and be a beacon of progressivity. But most of all, I want to make sure California is truly a state where all of us can thrive. So thank you for the time.
All right, you were spot on with the 2 minutes. Thank you. So next we have time for Q&A. Please drop your name in the stack. I see Member Barry. The floor is yours.
Hi, April. Thank you so much for being here this evening and for running for that position. I really like your platform. And my question is, as comptroller, how can you see yourself navigate to make that happen? Your platform that you talked about.
Sure, thank you. I think that I am not a leader who is just going to be put in a hole to say, this is your role and this is what the rules say you can do, but I will view myself as a member of a leadership team. And I'm not shy. If I have an opinion, I'm gonna give it. If I have an idea, I'm gonna press it forward. And I know that I will work with the chair and the vice chairs and the secretary as a team, just like I work with the team at my union to make sure we have a shared vision, we have shared strategies and tactics to create a plan, right, that works for all of us. And not just work with that leadership team, but to work with Democrats all over the state, in every single central committee, in every single county party, go to the Dem clubs. Like, we gotta go out and talk to people, right? We have to lead as a team, and that is required at every level.
Do we have any other questions for April? If no more questions, Thank you so much, April, for joining us. If you
Thanks
guys
for
want
having
to,
me.
yeah, if anyone wants to connect with her, her contact information is in the chat. So please feel free to reach out. Wish you the best of luck on the road to the to election day for this particular race. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck.
Thank you. You all have a great night.
You too. All right. Well, next up, our last candidate is our very own Chair David Campos, who is seeking to secure a position to run for the first vice chair at the CDP. Chair Campos, you know the drill, so the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really appreciate it. Good evening, San Francisco Democrats. It's a little weird for me to be running for an office that if I am successful in this effort, it might very well mean stepping down as chair of the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee. I have to say that for me, being chair of this party has been the honor of a lifetime. I became a Democrat for very personal reasons. As many of you know my story, I came here as an undocumented kid. And I was always interested in politics. And I remember watching the Sunday political shows and people talking about issues. And I especially paid attention whenever someone talked about immigration. And what struck me very early in that was that every time that Democrats talked about people like me, they talked about us as if we were people, which is something that wasn't really true of the way that Republicans talked about undocumented immigrants like me and my family. And that's why I've dedicated so much of my time to the Democratic Party. And as to why I'm running for this role, I simply want to say this, that I think we're very lucky in San Francisco that we have advanced on so many different levels, but I also know that it's a challenge for many people in other parts of the state. And I am especially concerned about the fact that there is a voice that's missing when it comes to undocumented people. We saw that with the ADEM elections. And I know that even though we passed a resolution, Sarah Sousa and others, we worked to have a resolution that gave rights to undocumented people in the party. The fact that there was no one like us at the table of that leadership role saying this is a priority is a reason, I think, in the end, that they didn't get it right. And so that's why I'm running more than anything else, to give people like me a voice, to make sure that their issues are taken into account. And in terms of values, let me say this, I think everyone knows what my values are, but as important as it is to be progressive, the thing that I am the proudest of is not just the talk, but the fact that I've delivered. And you have seen that. And that's what I want to do if I have the opportunity to serve in this role. And I do think that it's important to have someone from San Francisco, whatever our differences are as San Francisco Democrats, and we know that we have them. I do think that having that perspective represented at the state level is important. And so I would be very honored to have your support in this effort. And I'll stop there so you can ask me any questions.
Now it's time for Q&A. Please put your name in the chat and I will call on the first name I see. Member Barry.
Members, y'all wake up, ask some questions. Hey, candidate Campos. I would like to know, what would you recommend for the future of ADEM elections, since as vice chair, you would have a lot of input on that process?
You know, people who know me know that I'm an operations person, right? I help oversee the operations of the district attorney's office right now. I ran a number of agencies in Santa Clara. I think how you do the nuts and bolts is really critical. The first thing that I think we should do is we need to do a very detailed review, like an inventory audit of what actually happened and what went wrong. Because I don't really know that we fully know the total picture. And I actually would like to have an independent body come in and take a look at what happened. so that we have a better understanding of the intricacies of what went wrong. We can't really know what to do to correct it until we actually have a full understanding of that. And then I think that we need to figure out how we run this process. You know, local governments have departments that do this, you know, have an elections department. You know, what is it that we should have as an infrastructure as the largest Democratic Party in the country to run internal elections? I think that we need to think outside the box. I do think the staff did the best they could, but I think that there's a larger issue here about the structure. And so before I know the specific answer, A, B, C, and D, I think that we need to have an independent third-party review of the process.
Are there any other questions?
I'll ask one. Since you're in the hot seat. I'm curious, Chair Campos, if you just can speak to some of the things that you are interested in doing as vice chair, like some of your priorities in terms of where you see the party could be doing more, where it can be improved. Not just obviously the ADEM election is one example, but just other things that you're looking to lead on.
And I will get to the questions Janice Lee asked at some point. It is blue and yellow and Backstreet Boys, but in terms of you know, the one priority that I actually and I really think that the way the bylaws are structured, it kind of is left up to you, because it's sort of like you're there to help the chair. And what I want to be is like, I want to be the vice chair that prioritizes the central committees. I want to be an ambassador for central committees. I want to go to every one of the 58 counties and have an understanding of what is happening with each of them and actually figure out how we can support them. There are places like San Francisco, LA, where, you know, they're larger, you know, there are more resources that maybe we don't have to do as much, but I know that in some of them, they feel like they're on their own, okay, in sync, some of them. So I really want to prioritize the central committees. And then the other thing is what I talked about. There's a lot of disenfranchised communities, like the undocumented community, that feel like the party is not speaking to them, and I want to be a voice for them. And that means really, hopefully post-COVID, traveling throughout the state to hear from them directly on what we can do.
Well, I see a lot of NSYNC fans here. No. So I know we're a little over time, but you are, you know, our chair, and so we just definitely wanted to give you the space to kind of give complete thoughts. So again, Chair Campos, thank you for joining us in this capacity. We really do wish you the best of luck on the road to Election Day for this particular race.
Thank you.
And so with all of that said, we are going to be moving into item 5, which is general public comment, but I will be switching the chair duties of this meeting back to our Chair Campos. So handing the baton.
Thank you
back
very
to
much. If we can give a hand to Vice Chair Lacroix, who did a fabulous job, and the earrings are amazing. So with that, we're gonna turn to public comment, and this is one of the most important parts of the meeting. This is when we get to hear from our San Francisco Democrats and those that are watching. And you know, I wasn't able to be here at the beginning because I was presenting at another central committee. I just want to say that we want to congratulate all of the folks that won election to the ADEMs and who got appointment to the ADEMs. And I know that many of them are watching. And so this is an exciting time to be involved in Democratic Party politics, especially in San Francisco Democratic Party politics. And so with that, I will turn it to our Executive Director, Karima Lynch, who will run the public comment portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Chair Campos. So for the public comments, so I can see a lot of you right now use the function raise hand. Is exactly what you need to do. Like this, I can see you. If you don't find the function raise your hand, please add your name in the chat. And Jason Park, who is helping me, our intern, is going to send me all those names. So don't worry, everybody's gonna do their public comment. It's just sometimes it can take a while and you don't see where you are. So you can also ask in the chat if we can see you correctly and if your raise hand function is up. So we're gonna start with Erica, and then we have Susan Pfeiffer and Jordan Davis. Erica, can you hear me? I'm trying to activate your microphone right now.
There we go. Is that working?
We can hear you.
Okay, I'll be very, very quick. I am a Democrat and a voter in the DCCC elections a few times now. And my first time calling in and going to a meeting. Looking at your agenda, I want to say that I really like your agenda today, and I am for every one of those items on your agenda. And I support David Campos. I think he's done a fine job so far. But I'm actually calling in, and I do want to thank you for putting that speculators state legislation on your agenda today. That seems like a very important first step on real estate speculation issues. But I'm specifically calling in about the subsidized supportive housing issue. And of course, I support it. It's a very, very smart move. And it needs to be funded. It's passed, and I think that the mayor has also passed it, but we have to do a push for funding of it and making it happen. So appreciate it if you put whatever pressure you have to make that happen. And lastly, for the future or the near future, I hope you'll look into some of the state legislation that's being pushed by, even in San Francisco, our 3 state legislators, that proves to take away local control and what I consider democracy in housing, and also tries to eliminate CEQA, which is an important environmental step that was worked out and should be respected. And I will not tell you the name. There's so many bills right at the moment that are trying to help build luxury housing. And we need to put way more focus.
Time's up, Erica. Thank you so much.
All righty. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Next speaker, we have Susan Pfeiffer. Then we have, I think Jordan Davis up next, but I don't see her hand. Raise hand, sorry. So next one, we're gonna have Bill. Hey, Susan.
Hi, sorry. Hi guys, good evening. First of all, I just wanted to say I am very proud to have been appointed as a delegate to the California Democratic Party by Nancy Pelosi. I did not win an ADEM slot, but she was wonderful in appointing me. But I was proud to be part of the AD19 delegate slate endorsed by Phil Ting. While we didn't win the whole thing, we did get the top 5 positions among them, and I was very proud of that. But I want to congratulate in AD19, Selena Sun, Jane Natoli, Ellie Miller Hall, Lanier Coles, Stephanie Lehman, Anna Krishna Menon, Ashley McGovern Wessinger. Among the men, Matthew Roa, Michael Sweet, Marcus Ishmael, David Golden, and the new e-board rep, Martin Rawlings Fine. And in AD17, my friends Thea Selby, Gladys Soto, Tyra Fennell, Alex Barrett Shorter, Kristen Webb, Annie Fryman, Anita Lau, Nahima Rahimi, who is also the e-board rep, Mike Chen, Tony Rodriguez, Kurt Grimes, Sharky Laguana, Chris Corcus, and Marcos Aranda. You all deserve a round of applause. You ran good campaigns and you should hear your name mentioned. Quickly, I am endorsing David Campos for first vice chair and will be thrilled to vote for him. And I'm also proud to endorse Henny Kelly for district director again. And very quickly, just a reminder that Covered California has opened a new special enrollment period from February 1st to May 15th, particularly to be sure that anyone who needs insurance due to a job loss during COVID has a chance to get insurance. Also, Medi-Cal is available year long. I'm a certified enrollment counselor for Covered California. So if anyone needs help or you know anyone, I'm happy to help or give them the contact where they can get help directly at Covered California. Thank you all.
Thank you, Susan.
Could I say one more thing?
I think, yes, go ahead, go ahead. Oh, sorry, Susan. I will bring you on later, just after Bill Ogniman take issue. Bill?
Yes.
I think I can hear you. Yes, and see you. Go ahead.
Hello. Okay. Thank you so much. Just a second, adjusting my screen here. Okay. Thank you, committee members. So yes, it's been a pleasure to attend your meeting tonight. Very nice meeting so far, at least. My name is Bill Honigman, Dr. Bill. I'm a retired emergency physician and a member of the Orange County Democratic Central Committee. I'm also the Southern California Vice Chair of the Senior Caucus of the CDP, and I'm here in support of the resolution calling on the governor to renew his commitment to obtain the Section 1332 waivers under the Affordable Care Act, because first and foremost, COVID-19 is a giant wake-up call for Medicare for All and a single-payer healthcare system here in California. The tremendous health inequities and devastating impacts of the pandemic, especially on our most vulnerable communities, make this more of an imperative than it has ever been before. Second, medical and social sciences tell us that single-payer healthcare systems save money and save lives. This is why we have it in the platform of the CDP now for over a decade. And third, these ACA waivers is how California can take the lead now to get our state, and by extension, the rest of the country, to a truly universal healthcare system where all of the people get all of the care. Thank you for your yes vote on this resolution, and everyone, please stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, Bill. Susan, go ahead. Sorry, finish with. We cannot hear you.
Just quickly, I wanted to mention that I was tickled to see Member Dufty and an old photo with his godmother on Twitter yesterday and today, courtesy of Christine Pelosi. And for those who didn't see it, his godmother was Billie Holiday, who is, I am such a big fan of her music. So I want to embarrass him tonight.
I love you for that, Susan. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
I hope everybody watches Lady Day versus the USA tomorrow. It's all
That's
true.
tomorrow? When and where?
It's on Hulu. Lee Daniels, who made Precious, has made a film which really unearths from 50-year-old recordings how the FBI colluded with the New York Police Department to destroy and murder Billie Holiday. And it's all true. My mom never stopped talking about this crime and injustice. And so it's a book was written about it that I supported and helped. And so I hope people will watch it. And thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. And thank you, Karima.
Yeah, thank you, Susan. Next speaker, we have Todd Snyder. Then we have DB Staub and Sarah Souza. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. You have 2
Great.
minutes.
Thank you. So I'm just calling to voice my opinion. I'm a voter in District 5, and I'm calling to urge all the members of the committee on the call tonight to take a position on Carolina Morales and her resolution to fully fund 30 right now in the fiscal year 2021-22 budget cycle and extend that permanently to make sure that we have funding for people who need it. I know that there's been some pushback from Mayor Breed, but I would like everyone on this call to really take a public stance in support of Carolina's proposal to fully fund 30 right now. And I'll yield the remainder of my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Libby, then Sarah Souza and Anak Sulrama.
Hello.
Hello, Libby. I can see you now.
Okay, good. All right. Hi, my name is Libby Staub, and I'm a member of the Housing Rights Committee of San Francisco and subsequently the Veritas Tenants Association. I urge all of you to pass the resolution in support of AB 1199, a state bill co-sponsored by HRCSF to increase transparency and accountability of the biggest corporate landlords in California. I've lived in North Beach for the last 20 years, and I got involved as a volunteer with HRCSF when Veritas, my landlord, attempted to raise our rent to accommodate their property tax and mortgage costs under the guise of a big rent increase. I now know more than I care to regarding corporate landlordship and the lengths a multi-billion-dollar company will take to make money for their investors. That's how a REIT works. I learned all about real estate investment trust when Veritas got their $3.6 million PPP loan early in the pandemic as a small business. They camouflaged that major detail by saying that they were just trying to keep their 192 employees employed as a property management company. They said the Green Tree didn't own the buildings. Yet when you follow the LLC trail, you find that everything goes back to one CEO. Still, big corporate landlords like Veritas deny that they actually own these buildings and even have a substantial stake. This makes holding them accountable that much more difficult. The transparency part of AB 1199 is very important in addressing this loophole and holding companies like Veritas accountable for their business practices. Thank you for your time, and I strongly urge you to pass this resolution tonight.
Thank you very much, Libby. Next speaker, we have Anak Sulrama and then Sarah Souza, and then just after, Jordan Davis. I can see you, Jordan.
Hello. I'm
Hello.
assuming everybody can hear me. My name is Anaxel Rama. I am a community organizer with public policy and community organizing with Community Housing Partnership. I'm also formerly homeless, and I am a longtime SRO resident in San Francisco. I want to take a moment and actually speak in support of the Office of Racial Equity. Everything that I've had the privilege of organizing around over the years, from Ban the Box to Criminal Fines and Fees to Free City College, have racial equity components to them. And I think that it would be great for the city to take lead on those issues and partner with the community in making those things happen. So I think the Office of Racial Equity is a really great idea, even if it's Democratic Party specific. I'm actually here tonight because I want to challenge each of you not only to support the resolution to give relief to people in SROs and by capping the rent at 30% of the income, but I also want to challenge you to consider what it's like to live in an SRO and be limited and not have access to a kitchen, not have access to a freezer, not have access to space, to be limited on your income and have that limited income squeezed by having to pay that rent. And so I would challenge everybody on this call to consider living off of $300 a month and making that last, where you can't prepare your meals like you would in a kitchen. This is your chance to use your powers to make some real tangible change in the people that need it the most. And so I strongly encourage you to pass these resolutions. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, we have Sarah Suda, then we have Laksh Bashin, and then Christopher Mika.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. First, I want to thank Chair Campos for reappointing me as a delegate. You know, as due to my status, I could not run. Unfortunately, the Democratic Party hasn't taken any action, regardless of all the advocacy and fight that we have done collectively. And, you know, I want to thank you, San Francisco Democratic Party, for always welcoming me and ensuring that I have an opportunity to speak. I just want to emphasize my gratitude. I'm also here today to share my full support for David Campos for the first vice chair of the California Democratic Party. David Campos has experienced firsthand the barriers of being undocumented and the pain of being criminalized for being, not having status and dehumanized, as we have seen the refugees from Central America and what they have encountered for being working class and how they are treated. We need leaders like David Campos leading the efforts across the state, also bridging communication and collaboration across the aisle. He's an independent voice who will fight not only for immigrants, for people of color. He'll bring more young people to the table, LGBTQ representation, and build a more inclusive party that we need, desperate need. We need more women of color, and we need him as an ally to help us build that party that we envision as San Franciscans. So I want to close my comment by saying how proud I am of Chair David Campos, of his story, of his legacy, and of all the work he has done here in San Francisco. And I look forward to collaborating on a statewide effort when he wins as the first vice chair. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Sarah. Next speaker, we have, okay, I'm gonna bring on Jordan, but I think she's disconnected now. Okay, so next speaker, Laksh Bashin. Then we're gonna have Christopher Mika.
Hi, good evening, members. My name is Laksh. I'm speaking in support of the 30 Right Now legislation, which is item number 9 on the agenda, which would spend $6.1 million to reduce rents to 30% of income for all tenants in permanent supportive housing. A pilot program reducing rent already took effect during the pandemic, and it has helped so many tenants remain housed in spite of everything that's been happening with COVID. It is really crucial that we fully fund the 30 Right Now legislation. This is an effort being led by SRO tenants to right a historic wrong that they were ever charged as high as, in some cases, 50% of their income on rent. I also want to allude to the point that Anak made, which is it's important to create actual social housing, which is dignified mixed income housing that goes all the way down to tenants making $300 a month or even less, and it's still financially self-sustaining. There is a growing movement in California, in San Francisco, for public social housing to right the wrongs of the top-down defunding of HUD public housing, which is one of the many reasons we're in the affordable housing crisis we are in today. It will depend on the mayor's office and board of supervisors to begin implementation, though. So I want to thank you all, and I hope you will support item number 9. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, Jordan, I still don't see you. So next speaker, Christopher Mika. Christopher? Can you hear me? I think.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Hi, my name is Christopher Micah. I'm from I work with DSA San Francisco Homelessness Working Group mostly. I'm a disabled SRO resident and a formerly homeless person. There's a bunch of stuff I actually want to support today. Basically everything having to do with California single payer. So that's awesome. I mostly want to speak about, I want to strongly encourage this body to support item number 9, which is awkwardly worded resolution urging the timely funding and implementation of recently passed permanent supportive housing rent contribution standard. We call this 30 is enough. 30 is enough will guarantee that SF or San Francisco SRO residents pay no more than 30% of their income for rent. Many SRO tenants live in what I call mandated poverty, in that SSI and SSDI do not provide or let people earn enough of an income to live in a modern economy. The restrictions put on disabled people's incomes, or even just people who need to not lose their Medicare or Medi-Cal, creates a monthly economic crisis, which I also liken to a form of economic terrorism against poor and working class people. 30 is enough abates this monthly crisis in a small but significant way. That difference can be crucial for people living on the borders of economic feasibility. A couple of years ago, Jordan Davis, myself, and others brought 30 is enough to the DCCC, and it was supported by this body unanimously. I hope that you will support this again, now that this proposal is actually legislation. It has been passed at City Hall, and we need your support helping getting 30 is enough funded to give economic relief to some of the poorest people in our city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Jordan Davis. I brought you on. I hope you can activate your microphone. Jordan? Okay, I cannot see her now. So I'm gonna go to next speaker. I know we have Madeline who has been struggling too. Madeline, I'm gonna bring you on right now. Madeline, can you hear us?
I can. I can hear you.
Great. Go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to say good evening to everyone. I see a lot of familiar faces here. My name is Madeline McMillan, and I would like to speak on item number 10. I am a member of the Housing Rights Committee of San Francisco and a Veritas Tenant Association. I urge you all to pass the resolution in support of AB 1199, a state bill co-sponsored by HRC-SF to increase transparency and accountability of the biggest corporate landlord in California. Together with my labor union SEIU 10-1, we are in the business of addressing the housing crisis by making sure that huge real estate corporations are held accountable and pay their fair share. AB 1199 would help in this work. I am increasingly concerned to see my neighbors and fellow union members displaced from the city where they work. We need revenue for first-time homeowners, resources, and to expand preservation of affordable housing. AB 1199 would help with this. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope this body will pass this resolution tonight.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, we have Nurik Baruch, then we have Alo and Mark Barnes. Can you hear me? Nurit, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nurit. I live in San Francisco. I have a son who has a mental disability who lives in Tenderloin. And he's living in an SRO, and right now he pays 70% of his income, which leaves him about $340 a month. And if it was not for me helping him, he would be starving. So I'm very concerned about all the other people in the Tenderloin who are in danger of becoming homeless because of not being able to pay their rent. And we have such a huge problem already here. We don't want to add to the problem. And so I would like very much for you to talk to the mayor and explain to her that she needs to move on it this year, not another 12 months of this. And I'm sure that my son will benefit from it, and many others, like about 4,000 people. Very good thing to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next speaker, we have Arlo, then we have Mark Barnes and Liana. Arlo, can you hear us? I think we lost him. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring on Mark. Arlo, I can see you, hear you. Mark, you can just wait. You're gonna be the next speaker. Arlo, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, members. My name is Harlow Pippinger. I'm calling in support of the resolution put forward by Member Morales to urge that the 30 Right Now Act is fully funded and implemented. It's a really important 30% rent standard in supportive housing. It's vitally needed in order to prevent evictions, allow tenants to shelter in place during the pandemic, and promote racial and economic equity in our city's housing policy. Although the city is facing some budget difficulties, it's a relatively small amount of 6.1 million, which will go a long way towards supporting our most vulnerable residents during a pandemic. So please support this resolution and call on the mayor to fully fund supportive housing rent caps. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Mark, go ahead, you're with us. Can you unmute yourself? So I'm gonna go ahead until you figure this out.
There we go.
Oh, you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm speaking in favor of the resolution for 30 right now. I've heard the other speakers talk about people with much more exigent circumstances than mine in SROs. It's going to be extremely important for them. The facility I'm in, the apartment building, is run by, it's supportive housing run by Community Housing Partnership. And luckily I came in under 50%, and they obtained Section 8 housing vouchers, which lowered my rent to 30%. And it made all the difference in the world for me in terms of putting food on the table, and also being able to make some donations to my fine supervisor, Supervisor Haney. But more importantly, just thinking of all these people down the Tenderloin, these SROs, you know, it's just real sad that they're paying up 70%. It's just unthinkable. So I just am speaking in support of that resolution, and hopefully we'll get funding to be able to help these folks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I'm gonna try again with Jordan Davis. You with us? Can you unmute yourself? Jordan, I think you have a really bad connection. Yes, we can see you. Can you unmute yourself? Yes, perfect. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm sorry, I'm having a really bad connection, but I just want to say I support 30 right now. It's been a pleasure for me to support this. I really urge you to sign this. We went to you a couple years ago to bring this forward, and I'm sorry I don't have Wi-Fi in my building because supportive housing tenants get treated crappily. That's why I'm fighting for 30% rents, and it would make a lot of difference in my life if I could, and me and 3,000 other tenants could. And I want to thank my friend Tato for doing this, and Member Morales. She really, she's one of the signatories, and we have a lot of support from HESPA, Supportive Housing Network, and Housing Rights Committee, and Coalition on Homelessness. So you can, I yield my time. You can mute me now and bring me back on put me back on the other side.
Thank you, Jordan. Next speaker, we have 3 speakers left. Linnea, I'm bringing you on. After that, we have Debbie and Chance. And if I'm missing someone, please put it in the chat. That would be helpful. Thank you. Go ahead. We can see you and hear you.
Hi, thank you. So good evening, everybody. My name is Lena Maibaum. I am with the Housing Rights Committee of San Francisco, and I'm also a Veritas tenant with the association. I urge you to pass this bill, this resolution to support the AB 1199, the state bill co-sponsored by HRCSF to increase transparency and accountable to the biggest corporate landlords in California. One of the biggest problems with addressing our housing crisis is getting buildings like mine, which is a 34-unit building in Lower Nob Hill, off private market. When my landlord Veritas sells the buildings, they would sell it with a huge price tag, more than any nonprofit or land trust can even afford. AB 1199 would tax huge corporate landlords to increase money, and land trust nonprofits really complete. It has been uneven play field, and AB 1199 would help address this issue. We also have about 110 endorsers when this bill was just announced February 19th of this year. So thank you for your time, and I hope this body will pass this resolution tonight. And thank you, Lee, for having us today too. Thank you.
Thank you. Debbie, you next. Then we have Chance, and this is the last speaker. Again, if I missed you somehow, please put your name in the chat. Debbie, you're with us. I think you were able to unmute yourself.
That's correct. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Debbie Nunez. I'm here to talk about item 10, which is AB 1199. I also am a member of the Housing Rights Committee of San Francisco and the Veritas Tenants Association. I'm also involved with the Asociación de Inquilinos de Veritas, which is the Spanish-speaking branch of the VTA. I am proud and humbled to be part of this group whose members' health, economics, and housing have been particularly impacted by COVID. I also urge you please to consider and pass the resolution for AB 1199, which is a state bill being co-sponsored by HRCSF to increase transparency and accountability of the biggest landlords here in California. As many of you know, Veritas is San Francisco's largest corporate landlord. They have a history of allegations of harassment and excessive rent hikes. AB 1199 would go a long way towards making sure that big real estate corporations like Veritas put forth their fair share and are accountable to their tenants and communities. I've lived under multiple corporate landlords in my apartment of 30 years, from the Lemby family to Veritas. It's quite frustrating when our existing regulations don't seem to go far enough to prevent my home from changing hands from one phantom corporate landlord to another. I think AB 1199 is a strong enough bill to make a dent there. So I thank you for your time, your considerations, and I do hope you can and will pass this resolution tonight. Thank you again.
Thank you, David. Next speaker, we have Chance, and then I see Mark Barnes, but you already made a public comment, so let me know if I'm wrong. Chance, you're with us? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So I'm a San
Go,
Francisco district. No, sorry.
no,
Can you
go
hear me?
ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm a
Mhm.
San Francisco District 10 resident, and I work with the DSA-SF Homelessness Working Group, and I just wanted to speak kind of in solidarity with the folks who have already talked about the 30 Right Now legislation for all the reasons I've mentioned, and then I also just want to kind of stress that this, getting this legislation this far has been a fight. As much as it seems to just make sense on its face to have folks who are in supportive housing have to pay no more than 30% on rent, 30% of their income on rent. It has been very difficult to get it this far, and there really does need to be a lot more work to be done to ensure that it is funded both this year and in years to come. So just wanted to end by stressing that and stressing the importance of just making sure that we help keep folks housed. Thanks.
Thank you. And that was our last speaker. Let me know in the chat if I forget someone, but I don't think so. So I'm going to pass it on to the chair.
Thank you to our executive director and of course our amazing interns for making it happen. Jason Park, thank you for keeping it all very organized and moving along very quickly. And thank you to all the San Francisco Democrats who spoke. Again, we really appreciate your feedback, and this is one of the most important parts of the meeting. So with that, we're going to move on to reports, and that's officer reports. And I will begin my report by just noting a couple of things. First of all, the calendar year is always an opportunity for us to plan ahead for what our goals and objectives are for the calendar year. And of course, we're still in a very challenging time with the pandemic. And I know that there are a number of activities that are going on in terms of increasing funds so that we can do more to reach out to Democrats. And I want to thank the fundraising committee led by members Thomas and Mar and others who participated for their work in pushing that forward. And I know that there are a couple of events that are coming up, but I do want to underscore the need for us to remain engaged, even though we have a pandemic. This is the time when people are struggling, and we need to make sure that the party is relevant to their lives. And so any ideas that any of you have, please bring them forward to me or to the executive director. With respect to the objectives of the year, fundraising, especially into the federal fund, is always a challenge. And I would encourage those of you that are members of the DCCC that have not signed up to be recurring donors to please do so. A number of us, I think most of us, have already committed to a $20 a month contribution at a minimum, and others do more. And it would be great to have 100% participation by all the officers. The last thing that I would note is something that I think some of you probably have heard about, but there is a huge push across the state to get California to the point where we have a single-payer healthcare system for every Californian. The resolution that is on the agenda that I introduced, and I know that there's another resolution by Member Kim on the same topic, is a resolution that follows the actions by the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, which is actually challenging every county committee to act and pass a resolution in support of a single-payer system. This is critical because there is a legislative effort right now that has started led by Assemblymember Ash Kalra in Santa Clara County through the presentation and introduction of AB 1400, which creates a CalCare system that ensures that there's healthcare, a single-payer system in California
And as Assemblymember Calra noted, the pandemic has actually illustrated the fact that our healthcare system is deficient. And so San Francisco has a long history of being a leader on issues, and we should continue to be a leader, especially on healthcare, because healthcare actually happened, universal healthcare happened in San Francisco before it did anywhere else in the country. Thank you, Tom Amiano, with the support of then Mayor Newsom. And so in that spirit, I have decided to create a committee, a healthcare committee of the Democratic County Central Committee here in San Francisco, whose goal and focus will be to advocate for the passage of a single payer healthcare system in the state. And that means working with legislators like Ash Kalra and others around AB 1400, but there are actually a number of other efforts that are taking place throughout the state. You have the National Union of Healthcare Workers, NUHW, that is working diligently with a number of other partners to push for this. And I know that our own member, John Avalos, has been spearheading some of those efforts on behalf of NUHW. So I'm going to be appointing Member Avalos as the chair of that committee. But I would ask members that are interested in participating as members of this committee to please let me know. And I will be announcing the makeup of the committee in the next day or so. But I think it's really important for San Francisco to play a leadership role in the passage of a single payer system in the state of California. And I think that the idea is that this committee will be meeting about the different things that we can do, events that we can put together. Maybe we have to, take, I guess it's not a physical trip to Sacramento, but maybe we have to do virtual lobbying of Sacramento and to the legislature for passage of a single payer system and the passage of AB 1400. So please let me know, members, if you're interested in participating in this committee. And I want to give Member Avalos an opportunity to say a couple of words about this. I know that he's already in the middle of a lot of that work and that he will have a lot to report between now and the next meeting. So Member Avalos.
Thank you, Chair Campos, and thank you for the opportunity to work with our colleagues here on the Democratic County Central Committee to lead the effort in San Francisco for a single payer government-backed universal health care in California. We actually need to ensure that all the communities that are working on the front lines during the pandemic to create access to testing, vaccines, to mutual aid, actually have a voice in a measure that will actually transform outcomes in our communities, many of which are healthcare deserts, to be able to have self-determination over our future and make sure we have access to healthcare, to mental health care, that we have our own community members that are providing that care. That's essential to what a real public health effort will be, and we may have future pandemics, and our communities leading on that is really essential. So my union is working with the Healthy California Now to ensure that we are reaching across the whole state of California to make sure that our communities can lead in the effort. And this will be our local effort in San Francisco. And I really appreciate you're giving us the opportunity to work together here with our colleagues here on the committee and our communities here in the city. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Member Avalos. I know there's a lot of interest. I know that Member Williams has already indicated an interest in being on that committee. And so with that, I'll turn it over now to our first Vice Chair of Outreach, Vice Chair Lacroix. And again, thank you very much for the fine job earlier in the meeting.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair Campos. It's always a pleasure to be able to support the party in the facilitation role. I am super excited to, well, first I want to thank Kathleen for, after our last meeting, after I gave everyone an invitation to kind of drop ideas for outreach and programming that we can have for, the year for 2021, Kathleen had, shared an email with Karima, who, passed it on to myself and AJ, Member Thomas, about different things that we can do. So I just wanted to shout her out and say thank you. And not to take away from Vice Chair Galata and Member Thomas's reports, but I do have a couple exciting things to share through the fundraising committee and through a few party planning groups that we have. A couple ideas had come up, but one in particular as a way of like building our virtual presence combining with outreach is to figure out a way to operationalize going live on Instagram with the DCCC as a way of bringing forth democratic clubs and organizations, that are continuously doing the work in these times to like elevate that in a short Q&A, maybe 5 questions segment. That way it reaches people where they are, which was right now on their laptops and on their phones, instead of figuring out a way like, how do we do outreach out in the world, in the streets? Like that's just not what's going to happen for at least a few more months, until everyone's all vaccinated and stuff. And so I will be working with the partnership committee to really think all of that through and come up with a bigger plan or proposal. But I just wanted to report that that is underway. And I look forward to having that live and online and something that we can share out to all of the different groups that we're a part of. Another thing is like something along the lines of like a trivia night. That way, like we are still engaging with our folks where they are, but making it fun and also educational too, because, with trivia, you learn things along the way. So that's just kind of an update as to what I'm thinking about in terms of like really bringing our outreach and our message to people where they are. Again, if anyone has ideas, I'm all ears. I look forward to hearing from you. And thanks so much.
Thank you very much, First Vice Chair. We greatly appreciate the work, and please keep us posted on all the things that will be happening. And of course, there are so many different things that are going, and we have to keep all of these efforts going at the same time. And voter registration is another big one. So to our second Vice Chair, Vice Chair Baraka.
Thank you, Chair Campos. I would like to thank Karima for organizing a meeting with Adam Miller. As you know, as everyone knows, we're dealing with COVID restrictions. So a lot of times we have to pivot into new ways. And so new ways of getting in contact with San Francisco voters. So we were able to meet with Adam, and I know that some of you know that he helped not only the social justice Dems with some field work. He has a great program called Universe. So we're in discussions with talking with Adam about reaching out to some of the disenfranchised communities that we've always wanted to reach out to. And Adam's going to help us identify some of those things. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to flesh out some numbers for us, but he'll be getting to that real soon, I'm sure. That's also connected to my role on the finance committee. If we get folks to support our party, we can pay for things like this voter registration program that we would like to work with Adam on. So please give generously. We're going to be calling you this Saturday, and that's all I'm going to say. I'll let AJ and Peter talk more about that. But yeah, so I'm very interested in identifying some of these voters with Adam, and if you can support us in this effort, please do so. That is all.
Thank you very much. And of course, the heart of the party is the clubs and the work that they do. So we'll turn it over to our Vice Chair for Clubs and Chartering, Vice Chair Mahogany.
Thank you, Chair Campos. Just a brief update that there have been a couple new clubs that have come up in the last month that are seeking chartering for the first time. So just walking folks through that process and making sure that they have all their ducks in a row. And then additionally, I've been working with the executive director to make sure that the clubs have their that they update their bylaws to be in confirmation with the state regulations and requirements. So those are things that we've been working on this last month.
Thank you, Vice Chair Mahogany. And now we'll turn over to our Vice Chair for Issues and Resolutions, Vice Chair Lovett. I know that a lot is going on as well. Vice Chair Lovett.
Sure. I want to speak to the different resolutions that are being introduced today through the lens of community health. And the last time I checked, the United States has a disproportionate number of deaths from COVID, not to mention cases. I was shocked. It's like 1 out of every 5, actually more than 1 out of every 5 globally. So we've hit over 500,000 deaths. The gaps in our healthcare system have turned into these huge chasms, and that's in a country where we lead on scientific research and medical innovation. So we often, in this society, which is really individualistic, we think of health and illness as personal responsibilities, but we have to go beyond that because we have a public health crisis. We've had it for decades. My professors, I majored with a focus on public health and health policy. We're trying to solve this decades ago, and we're still trying to do it. And now what we see is that it's really taking a toll on this country to rely on employer-based, on a patchwork of private insurers for so much of our population. It's taking a toll to let profit margins, dictate which communities get care or better care. And then I've been monitoring the rollout of vaccines in our city. And so it's such a huge job during this pandemic and a big challenge that we're seeing with the network of private and public systems so that we have a rollout that's very complicated with different levels of transparency and access. And today there's another tier of workers that includes education, emergency, food and agriculture, and whether people have access to healthcare often determines how likely they can get a vaccine or treatment. So we have several resolutions that are, as Chair Campos said, about the single payer health system, and I think all of these, whether it's racial equity or housing and permanent supportive housing to protect people from being left out, are all about community health, and that is our collective responsibility. And it's time that we have a coordinated system that's humane and about saving lives and eventually dollars. And I would like to join that healthcare committee. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Noted, and I appreciate all the work that you're doing. And so we'll now turn it over to Vice Chair Peter Galata for partnerships.
Thanks, Chair Campos. Just 2 short updates to report out today. So the Communications and Partnerships Committee will be resuming our monthly meetings starting in March. And these meetings, focus on our communications priorities for the DCCC, how we're leveraging our communications platform. So things like our e-newsletter, social media, website. It's also a space where we brainstorm new communications projects as well as new partnerships opportunities. So I'm really excited for Vice Chair Lacroix's proposal for social media for Instagram Live. And we're going to be talking about that at our next partnerships and communications meeting, which will be on Monday, March 8th from 5:30 to 6:30 via Zoom. All members are welcome to join these meetings, so let me know if you'd like to attend. And also just wanted to, and not take away from our executive director's report, but one thing I wanted to highlight was a new project that our new intern, Jason, is helping us launch, which is a new social media series called Member Mondays, where we're going to be highlighting one member of the SFDCCC every week on our social media platforms, just to raise more awareness of who our members are. And raising that awareness out in the community. So we want to feature all of our DCCC members, including our ex officios, So in order to get this off the ground, we need some basic information from each of you. So Jason has shared out a Google form with everybody. He's followed up with you all as well. So if you haven't yet, please take a few minutes just to complete that form, and then we'll take care of the rest. And we're really excited to get that series going. So thank you, Jason, for your leadership and persistence in getting the information we need from everybody to make it happen. So thank you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason, again, and please give him the information. We'll now turn it over to our treasurer, Carolina Morales, who's been working very hard to make sure that our numbers are correct and working also on fundraising. So to our fabulous treasurer, Member Morales.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody. So everybody received the financial report from Karima, and just wanted to highlight that we are good for another month. I think, you know, we have the reality of so many San Franciscans month to month. We have in our federal committee about $10,000, and in our state committee a tiny bit over 25,000. What is very exciting, you know, as Member Baraka said, we're going to have AJ report on some fundraising efforts by our finance committee coming up, and it's really exciting in particular that we have pledges by supervisors Haney, Mar, and Ronan. I think it's maybe 5,000 each. I think perhaps that's really awesome. Thank you, thank you. And that Member Ronan has raised already half of her pledge. Let's follow her lead. I'll see if I can do that. So that concludes my report. Let me know if you have any questions. AJ, do you want to come on now or later?
Well, we'll turn it over to our committee reports. So thank you to our treasurer. We appreciate that. And so we will first go to our finance committee. And I know that we have one of our co-chairs, co-chair Thomas, who will report on where we are. I know a lot of activity has been going on. And one thing that I appreciate, especially when it comes to some of these elected officials, is that they are very good taskmasters. So to make sure that these busy electeds, you know, stay on track for their goals. So Co-Chair Thomas.
Thank you, Chair Campos, and thank you also to the other members who've commented on some of the actions we've been able to do over the last month. The Finance Committee has spent the last month operationalizing some of the items that we had reported out to the DCCC in our January meeting. We started by implementing the fundraising goals that we had set to tackle the federal account, given the nature and the challenges that surround raising money for the federal account. And that started with fundraising commitments from our members on the Finance Committee itself. So definitely a shout out to Supervisors Haney and Mar, and especially Supervisor Ronan for committing to raise the initial block of money through call time. As was mentioned earlier, Supervisor Ronan has already begun raising that money, but for everybody else, we're having a phone bank starting for call time this Saturday. So if you're a member and you're interested in joining, please join Supervisors Mar, myself, members of the committee, Keith and Leah, to call our members, call Democrats. If you're an elected who wants to check in with your constituents and needs to do these calls anyways because of COVID-19, what better time than to join us at 10 o'clock on Saturday and call some of your friends in San Francisco about supporting the federal account. What else did we do? We have began broadening also the $20 a month contribution from our own members. As was mentioned earlier, not all of the members of the DCCC have contributed the $20 a month. And we understand some members financially, it's just not possible. And we understand that. And if you can't do it, we completely understand. We'd love to have you join us on Saturday to call other people who are more capable of or more able to donate that money. But if you are able to donate $20 a month, please definitely sign up for it. It's going to be really quick. Kareem, if you don't mind putting the Act Blue link in the chat, and then if everybody can just make sure and check the Make It Monthly. So that way we at least get to 100% participation in some way from the DCCC. The last thing was events. And since that's a broader organization goal, and it needs a lot more working parts, we formed a separate working group. We called it the Party Planning Committee. And I want to give shout outs to not only Leah and Keith, but also Honey Mahogany and Peter Galata and Kathleen as well from Diane Feinstein's team for joining our working group to try and put together plans for fundraising events going into the year. The first is a spring fundraiser, which we focus on a digital auction and guest speaker. We began putting together a short list and trying to reach out to individuals who could participate. The plan is to hopefully include a silent auction piece to that. Additionally, as was mentioned earlier, we were thinking of launching a quarterly trivia plan. This would be engaged roughly around the clubs, but not necessarily just the clubs. But it would allow a way to engage with club members and rank and file Democrats and fundraise hopefully through that as well. And it would be in partnership with the membership outreach and with our club's outreach as well. The last, and a special shout out to Member Lacroix for bringing this one out, is the Civics 101 lecture series. This is something that'll be a little more complicated to roll out, but it would be focusing on education, and it's projected for a third quarter rollout for this year. So those are the 3 tracks. If you're interested in participating, please definitely hit me up. We're happy to have you on any of these committees. We always love having more folks and more ideas if you have feedback and all that. And then I want to hand it off to Co-Chair Mar for any thoughts he wants to add.
Thank you so much, Member Thomas. I just wanted to emphasize that every member is not only welcome, but encouraged to join us for the call time event on Saturday. That will be from 10 to noon on Zoom. And I believe Kareem is setting up that Zoom. So as Member Thomas said, there's no better way to spend your time on a Saturday than reaching out to our friends or for some of his constituents and connecting about the importance of ensuring that we are providing resources to the Democratic Party to make sure that we can do all the important work we need to do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wright. Of course, to co-chairs Thomas and Mar for their work and all of the committee members for everything you're doing. We're now going to go to our endorsement committee, and I see co-chair Barry. I'm going to turn it over to you. And I know that member Ibanez is here by proxy. So Chair Barry.
Thank you, Chair Campos. Yes, members, Member Ibanez and I met and we discussed the endorsements for the state party. And of course, tonight, later on in the agenda, we're going to vote on vice chair. We're going to endorse Chair Campos for that position. However, we want to recommend that we do endorsements for the whole state party. We met the candidates tonight and whatnot. And next month, we'd like to actually vote for every seat. And I guess at this moment, we can vote on that, or but that's what we recommend doing.
I think the way that we Barry, is that we will put the item on the agenda, and if people want to do that, they can proceed to vote for an endorsement or not. But we'll put it on the agenda. And my rule is, when anyone requests something be added to the agenda, I always add it. So, but I think it makes sense for the body to consider endorsing in these other races. So we'll do that. Is there any comment on this, a question?
Chair Campos, could I have a point of clarification? Is there more than one? Is there more than one vice chair position up for election? If you could, please.
Yes, there is a female identify vice chair, and then a non-female identify vice chair.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you very much to Chair Barry. We'll now move on to our Executive Director, Karima Lynch, for her report.
Thank you, Chair Campos. So as you may know, we have all our delegates. So as DCCC members, you also delegate for the state party, and the chair appointed is new delegate. So welcome and congratulations for the state party. So we can start to talk about the first convention, and I know that Annie Kelly will also do a little report about this. That is going to happen at the end of April 26th to May 2nd. Is going to be through Zoom. And of course, one of the most important thing in this convention is the election of our next party leaders. So the registration for the convention will start mid-March, so next month. So in order to vote as a delegate member, you must pay on time the annual dues. So currently it's $60. So I just wanted to give you an update about this, like this you don't forget about it. And you can pay those dues at the same time as you register for the convention. So I will explain all of this, of course, via an email, and I will follow up with you also with all this information. And if you have a difficult time to pay for the dues, please let me know. We can also have them waived and ask to the executive board some help with that. Also, I just wanted to support what Member Baraka said about voter registration, because this year we don't have a major election in the city. I think it's important to focus on voter registration and how we can increase the numbers. So that is why I'm so excited to start this new project with KISS. And it's true that with PDI, then all the software, we cannot have access to non-registered voters. So with this new project, we'll have access at least to different addresses in the city, and we're gonna be able to organize mobilization with a club, with different Democrats in the city. So that's great. So I'm really want to do that project. And for that project, we need to fundraise. So that's why I'm working really hard with AJ and the committee to fundraise money. Also, we want to work with different universities. We have contact with different campus and different Democratic clubs in different campus in the Bay Area, and they contacted me and they want to work also on this project. So that's great. So I'm really excited about this. Also, just a little point for the EDEM election, I know that I received some complaint about the process of all of it. And so I just recommend to go on the state party website, and they have a special survey for the EDEM, and they're really listening about what we are saying. So I invite all of you to do that survey. That's it for my report. Just about the Member Mondays, like Peter said, we are launching this little program through our Instagram or social media. I think it's really fun and a nice way for people to get to know our members from the DCCC. So I want to thank Member Tong, Dufty, Cohen, Loftus. They already fill it out. We have their picture. It's ready to go. Thank you. And I'm waiting for all of you to fill out the form. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And one thing that I would say that I know that we will be planning in the next month or so, we have had in the past a gathering, training, presentation for all delegates elected and appointed. So we are planning to do that in the next few weeks, so that you have all the information. So my hope is that we can do that sometime in March, so that all the delegates have what they need to register and to make sure that they make the most of their engagement in the involvement in the convention. So stay tuned. We will work with you, with the officers of the DCCC, and also with the regional director. So with that, we'll go to our regional director. Is Penny Kelly here?
Yes, she's here.
Thank you, Director Kelly, for all your amazing work.
I think I'm here.
Yeah,
all right. Why? I keep on trying to start the video. There I am. Hi there. people were talking just before about the ADEM election, and the CRC is meeting on Monday, March 1st. I think the meeting starts at 6:30. It will be on the CADM website. If you're interested, you can listen to the Zoom meeting that they're having. They will be going over testimony. They will be giving a lot of information and getting a lot of information on that time. There are a couple of other things and of course we want as many people to show up for the convention. The way it's going to be is very similar to the last one we did. We are going to have during the week, we will have trainings and starting on April 26th, and we will have caucus meetings. So if you are going to be going, or if you just want to go to caucus meetings or some of the trainings, you can register that way. And as you were told, you can get waivers if you have a problem with the money part of that. One of the things is that every week on Wednesday, there is a meeting of people who are members of the Democratic Party, such as me as a regional director and the chair of the committees. And that's to answer some questions and to get some new ideas of how we can be a better Democratic Party. And one of the things that came up at the meeting today that I thought I would share with you, and especially with Keith Baraka, is a program to get in touch with newly registered Democrats and to give them some help and give them some interest so that they know that the Democratic Party that they registered for is a party that cares about them. So I will get you the information on how to do, newly registered Dems, what kind of things that people are asking. And I got this from a few different DCCCs, and they think that it's a really good idea to do. Our job is to register Democrats and to elect good Democratic leaders, but our job also is to make new Democrats feel like part of us. So that's something I hope you can look into. All right. Basically, I will be giving you some information about the Region 6 meeting, and I bet you're going to get to hear all of these candidates again at that regional meeting. So you'll have a lot of information about the candidates, but we will be having that after the March 15th deadline for people putting their names in. And that's my report.
Thank you very much to our regional director, and thank you to all the officers for all the work that keeps going. So greatly appreciated. So thank you. We'll now move on to the next item on the agenda. And even though I'm technically allowed to vote on it, I do want to turn it back to our first vice chair, Leah Lacroix, so that she can chair this portion of the meeting. So turn it over to you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you so much, Chair Campos. Hello, and everyone. Again, like Chair Campos said, we are on item 7, which is the endorsement of David Campos for California Democratic Party first vice chair of the male identified side, before, or non-female identified. Before we invite for any motions and seconds or even go into a vote, I'd like to just kind of have people who are interested in speaking on this item be able to kind of say their position. I know that member or Vice Chair Galata was interested, and I see his hand, and I see a few names in the stack, so I will call those out as I see them, but we'll start off with Vice Chair Galata, Member Duffy, and then Vice Chair Mahogany.
Thank you.
And member, or Vice Chair Baraka as well, sorry. Member Vice Chair Galata, sorry. Whoa, floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Lacroix. So colleagues, at last month's DCCC meeting, I had asked this item be added to tonight's agenda, and just thank you to our corresponding secretary for getting this item on. And the request was to hold a vote for an early endorsement for David Campos. And so the question before the committee on this item is whether we will vote in favor or not of that early endorsement. And just wanted to say that I feel that it is appropriate for the San Francisco Democratic Party to consider an early endorsement for David for state party vice chair, not only because David is a member of this body, but because we have an opportunity to have a San Francisco Democrat representing us at the state party. And I think we can all appreciate the significance of that and his candidacy, regardless of whether we have always aligned or you've always aligned with David's politics. And I do believe we should follow process for the endorsements we make as a body, but I do think this is an exceptional circumstance. When I was president of the Harvey Milk Club, we often endorsed or considered early endorsements for candidates that we felt strongly about and who we felt could benefit from an early vote of confidence. And I think David deserves our early vote of confidence tonight. I'm proud to be supporting him. And just one of the things that I wanted to share, which I think we all know, is that David is really committed to the work, and he's done the work as our chair. He has, I think, consistently pushed us to think about how the party can do more. And he's really worked to make the party more visible and meaningful and relevant in the lives of San Francisco Democrats. Whether that's been when he helped launch our first Chinese and Spanish language slate mail programs, helping us, develop the partnerships that it took to get with Speaker Pelosi to launch the Red to Blue SF and Vote Blue SF efforts, or also just taking a clear stand against corporate money influencing the party's politics. I think David has been consistent and has had a real vision for what a grassroots progressive Democratic Party can look like, and he's more than delivered on it. And I think the state would immensely benefit from his experience, from his ideas, his commitment to building that kind of Democratic Party in California that I think really reflects our San Francisco values. And I'll just note that if we endorse David tonight, we will be the first Democratic County Central Committee in the state to officially endorse him, which I think is fitting. And it's an endorsement, that I believe he has earned. So I know that other members would like to speak, so I will yield my time, but I hope we can move forward this endorsement tonight. Thank you.
Right, and thank you, Vice Chair Galata. And just to clarify, next we have Member Duffy, Vice Chair Mahogany, Vice Chair Baraka, and Member Morales on this list. If you are interested in speaking on this item, please drop your name in the chat. Thank you, Member Avalos. You're after Member Morales. All right.
Leah, do I get to ask why you had that big sigh before you said my name?
No, because I was gonna say Bevan, and I was trying to say Member Duffy, and my brain was catching up with my mouth. That's it. No, nothing negative, I swear.
Members, thank you for letting me say a few words about David. I go back so far with David that those political street signs on light poles were legal back in 2004. And I was so intrigued that two people were running together on a team, Scott Wiener and David Campos. So it definitely dates me to that time. And they were both successful in getting elected to the DCCC back in 2004. And they both had stellar electoral and public service careers. I had the privilege of sitting next to David when he joined the Board of Supervisors, and those were two really happy years. There was a lot that obviously you learn in the first couple of years serving in any board and any governmental function, but there was such a level of excitement in District 9 to have a gay Latino man of David's caliber, and just seeing how engaged he was, not only with policy, but also with the individual needs of people in his district. And I just the other day walked by an affordable housing development on South Van Ness that was the result of David taking Ed Lee on a walking tour and showing him the sites that could provide housing for people. And that's who David is. He engages everyone. He will give everyone the opportunity. He will show them the respect. I think a very telling moment was when David carried the legislation at the Board of Supervisors to ensure due process for undocumented youth. And just to give a basic example, I represented Mission High School, and there was a young man that made a bad decision to shake somebody down for maybe 87 cents. And the way that the case was handled with a school resource officer, this young man wound up being taken out of state as part of ushering him out of the United States. And for me, it was a very important issue. But it was also at a time where there was a lot of pushback around sanctuary law, and Mayor Newsom at the time vetoed the legislation, and that veto was overridden. And I want to say, to David's credit, he never gave up on Governor Newsom. And when Gavin was a candidate for governor, he indicated his regret and that he would have handled things differently. David's had such a range of experience in public service as a deputy city attorney for the school district, and what he's done in Santa Clara County, and working in the district attorney's office as chief of staff, and being a supervisor. And I think that because of that, I think he's so prepared substantively. And we've seen what David has done for the Democratic Party here in San Francisco. He has whipped us into shape, and some of us don't always like to be whipped, but you know what? You got to push to make things happen. And it's not easy for progressives to raise money. That's not where the entrenched money generally goes. And David has done everything possible to fundraise, make us a strong DCCC, and to really provide a Democratic Party that I think is an example to the country of progressive voice and values. I'm so excited for David to have this opportunity. I think that we should have San Francisco representation at the highest echelons of the California Democratic Party. And I know that David will work so hard, and that he will take this position, and will always remember that, how he took the opportunity as vice chair to really put us in the best position possible. We need to have Democratic majorities in 2022 and going forward, and no one better than my friend David to lead us as vice chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Dusty. Next, we have Vice Chair Mahogany.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lacroix. I just wanted to speak briefly to the endorsement of David Campos for first Vice Chair of the California Democratic Party, because I am somebody who really believes in David Campos's leadership and his vision for the party. Under his leadership, the SF Democratic Party has done incredible work, leading on a variety of issues that impact our party's members and helping to make the party more progressive, more inclusive, and more bold. Chair Campos appointed me to this body, making me the first Black trans person to serve on the SFDCCC. And Chair Campos also appointed Sarah Souza as a dreamer. And he has been absolutely consistent in ensuring that we are making space for those who have traditionally been excluded from party leadership. But these are the folks that actually must be centered in our conversations and in our leadership if we are ever going to progress as a society. So I personally think that we need strong, outspoken, progressive champions of the people in a position of power in the state party. We need someone from San Francisco, and we have that in David Campos. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Vice Chair Baraka.
Hello, everyone. For the same reasons that have already been mentioned tonight, I too am going to enthusiastically support David for Vice Chair of the California Democratic Party, but I think my comments are going to be a little bit more personal. I'm not going to try to tell his story, but I encourage you all to ask David about his journey across the border. And why I mention this is I think it's really important that we have folks at the table who have that lived experience. The story moved me to tears. And I think that David is very fortunate to have parents who went through that struggle for him, with him. And I think, again, we need someone at the highest echelons of our party who've had that experience so that we can have policy to support our immigrants. We are a nation of immigrants, and we need folks like David. And I like to associate myself with the comments of Sarah Souza earlier. I thought she really hit the mark with all the things that are very important to me. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And I encourage you to ask David about that story. It's really a compelling story. And thank you for your service to this body, David. I know you're going to work just as hard at the state level as you do at the local level. And again, I wish you nothing but success. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Baraka. We have Member Morales next.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Hi, everybody again. You know, what an honor to support Chair Campos tonight. And every time I have a chance to do so, you know, personally as a queer Latina immigrant, it's been, I mean, life-changing to see David's leadership as an elected official in San Francisco. I started organizing, you know, in 2002 in City College around hikes of tuition, and I always kind of prouded myself of not believing in government because they weren't being, you know, really representative of the people. And really, David changed my mind around that, around the importance of electoral politics and the reality that we can have elected officials that are lifting up the voices of the people closest to the problem. And that's who David is. And I feel like he demonstrates it with his work and every position that he's ever been in. And he's never missed kind of like an opportunity to serve, you know, in paid and unpaid positions. And so I hope that we can all, you know, support his candidacy for vice chair. And again, you know, repeating a little bit some of what's been said, I think that it is important at this moment in California to have a man who is a queer immigrant who crossed the border, right, on foot. I think that is major. You know, there are the kind of immigrant communities large, the undocumented communities large, but not everybody who holds high positions of authority have the experience that David has had. He's truly, truly remarkable person and leader. And I don't see any reason why we wouldn't support him. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Member Avalos, Vice Chair Levitt, and Member Williams.
Thank you, Chair Lacroix. Just want to put in a word for David and for Chair Campos, and also want to just lift up what colleague Bevan Dufty discussed as well. I agree with everything you've said, Bevan, about David's leadership and where he's come from. And, you know, California is facing a huge political crisis right now with the recall that is likely to happen. And that's on top of all the crises that we're facing, the economic crisis, the pandemic. And we know that the recall effort is really driven by just the worst form of politics. And it's clear none of us need to go through any of the crucible of a recall election while all these things are going on. And we need really strong leadership in the Democratic Party. We need leadership that's values driven, that's consistent, that we can see a track record that has gone on for decades, that can help work with the party and guide the party. San Francisco is a place that has really challenging politics. And we have these 49 square miles that is able to, wrangle with the toughest issues and land policy and budgeting. And people come out of San Francisco and go up to the White House. And I think that leadership and the mettle it takes to actually work in San Francisco is really what's needed right now in California. And as we face a political crisis and potentially a political catastrophe, we need strong leadership. And I, think that David does that. He's worked not just in San Francisco, Santa Clara County. He's been a legislator. He's worked for departments as well. He has a real experience that I think can bring together a lot of what is needed to lead this party across the state of California. And I hope, colleagues, that we can support him tonight for an early endorsement. Thank you.
Right. Vice Chair Levitt.
So we've heard from a lot of legislative leaders in the space working with David, who's been this incredible leader politically here in San Francisco and beyond. And so I also want to kind of share more from that personal standpoint, because politics really is, all politics are local and personal. I first got to interview David in 2014 and was really struck with his story. I have, both my parents are refugees, and I kind of think about the policies that allowed them to be welcomed in, first one country and then in the United States. And I think about the politics and the journeys that, so many people have gone through, and what the United States really means to people. We are seen in San Francisco and probably in California as these outliers, right? And sometimes when you see the topsy-turvy news that we've seen in the last 4 years, we understand that the progressive politics we care about are really a beacon. And that's what David gets, because all the people who have struggled, who have been the most vulnerable, who have endured great hardships, who have been marginalized, who have come back from, death's door, they need this party more than ever. And I have been convinced over years of the work, both in unions and in politics, that we need people like David to do this work, because it is really about every individual whose lives and whose livelihoods are saved. So I heartily endorse David.
All right, last name that we have in the stack is Member Williams.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lacroix. I just want to add to everyone else's comments and just associate myself with all the comments that have been said, and then also just add to it that, David is such an amazing mentor. He definitely lifts up folks, as has been said before, who are sort of closest to the problem to really originate those solutions. And he's done that for me in my life. You've been just such an amazing leader, and just all the experience that you bring to the table. It's just so impressive, just knowing everything that you've done. I know a lot of it's already been said, and just to have that combination of lived experience and the deep level of skills that you have and what you can bring to the state party. We do desperately need you on the state level right now. I think it's the perfect time, and it's going to be very sad to lose you, because I know you're going to win, and you provided so much leadership here in San Francisco for the party. But I just see this as such a perfect opportunity for all of us, for our community, to continue to lift up particularly our undocumented folks and folks that are struggling in all areas. I mean, you really touch on all of those social justice issues, also supporting us at City College. And so just so proud of your journey and where you're going, and just wholeheartedly support you for Vice Chair, and just thank you for all your mentorship and support and everything you do to lead us. And the California Democratic Party is going to be lucky to have you. So thank you, David.
All right. If there are no more members of the committee who want to speak on this item, I would like to invite for any motions and seconds.
Could I make a motion to endorse David Campos for first vice chair?
Second.
Yes. I hear a motion from member Dufty and a second by Vice Chair Mahogany, if that's correct. All right. Are there any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, is everyone okay with a vote of acclamation, or would folks like a roll call? All right, let's go with the vote of acclamation. All those in favor of endorsing Chair Campos for first vice chair of the California Democratic Party, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? Those abstaining? I see member Tung abstaining, member Loftus, member Cohen,
Chu.
member Kim, member Chu,
Wiener.
member Wiener. Anybody else? All right. Well, thank you so much. I feel like the ayes have it. Congratulations, Chair Campos, and best of luck again on your race ahead.
Um,
All right, now I'll turn it back over to you to facilitate the next item, which is item number 8.
Yeah, I just, if I may, take just a point of privilege to thank all of you. I mean, the words that were said, I really am trying not to cry, you know, because I have a meeting that I have to chair, but I really don't have the words to express how grateful I am for everything that everyone has said. And the same thing that you said about me, I can say about you. And the thing that I'm actually the proudest of is actually looking, is in front of me, is looking at the people that I'm associated with. You know, I've said this before, there's this saying in Spanish, dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. Tell me who you're with, and I'll tell you who you are, and that's you. So that's the greatest honor and one of my proudest achievements. So thank you. Your confidence means a great deal to me, and I'm very honored and proud of it. So with that, we'll move on to item number 8. This is a resolution in support of the San Francisco Office of Racial Equity. And this is something that was brought forward by Member Berry. Member Berry, and I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. Member Berry, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Campos, and congratulations. Happy Black History Month, members. At this point, it's sad that the history of San Francisco continues to be full of systemic racism. In San Francisco, Black people are the least hired, terminated the most, paid the lowest, and grievances are not taken seriously. Compound this onto housing discrimination, some of the worst disparity of use of force complaints by police in the country, and some of the worst education disparity in the state of California. In regards to all of these failures, I've constantly made public comments, signed petitions, wrote emails, and I was at the Rules Committee meeting when the Office of Racial Equity was introduced by former member and supervisor Sandra Fewer. This resolution is to give the Office of Racial Equity our support and for all city departments to know that the status quo is no longer acceptable. So, and I just want to add real quick that on the 72-hour notice, I don't know what happened, but there's some typos that were not included in the 10-day notice. So I don't know what happened there. We're working on that on the admin side of things. But I hope that all will support this resolution. It's pathetic, the situation here in San Francisco. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Berry. Colleagues, does anyone want to say anything else beyond this? With that, why don't we have
Chair Campos, I see Member Tung in the stack.
my apologies, Member Tung.
Thank you very much. So Member Barry, thank you so much for bringing this resolution. I think it's a very important position for our party to take in support of the Office of Racial Equality. During public comments, I was expecting to hear from some of the city leaders that are running the Office of Racial Equality. And so I wondered if you had invited either Cheryl Davis or Shakira Assembly to speak tonight, or if they have any comments with respect to your resolution.
I definitely sent word to the Human Rights Commission that this resolution was being presented, and I got a thank you. As far as someone presenting, I'm kind of new to this, so I'm trying to work on a presenter for next month for something else I'm working on, but no, I did not invite them, and there's no malice in that. It's just something I didn't think to do. Thank you.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Chung. Is there any other any other comment from our members? And thank you for adding your co-sponsorship into the chat so that our secretary can put that in there. So can we have a motion in support of this resolution? Is there a motion? So
moved.
So moved. Second, whichever one I didn't get.
Right.
Who was the motion? Was it Lacroix?
I'll take
That was a jump
first.
ball, man. Okay, it was Lacroix. All right, it was a jump ball. Whatever.
Lacroix and Loftus.
So moved by Lacroix and seconded by Loftus. So we're going to do a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Do we have any abstentions? No abstentions. It passes unanimously. Thank you very much, Member Barry, for bringing this forward. We'll now move on to item number 9, which is a resolution urging the timely funding and implementation of recently passed permanent supportive housing rent contribution standard legislation. That's we had a number of speakers on this item. This is brought forward by member for Treasurer Morales. Treasurer Morales, and I know that I'm already a co-sponsor, so thank you for bringing this forward. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everybody, again. And thank you to all the people who provided public comment at the beginning of the meeting. It was really inspiring to hear some of the stories and all of the words of support. We speak a lot about how the pandemic, right, has been affecting housing security, right? So in actually worsening the insecurity that we already had as tenants, particularly in California. And in San Francisco, we know that we have a really big problem of lack of homes for our people living on the streets. And this resolution is precisely to help one of the most vulnerable groups, right, at risk of losing their homes. So supportive housing tenants are amongst this most at risk, right? And even though these tenants are very low income, as you heard during public comment, many pay over 50% of their income on rent. But we have the power to change this as a city, given that the landlord of supportive housing units is the city and county of San Francisco. So the resolution before you today asks Mayor Breed and the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing to fund this legislation that was authored by Supervisor Matt Haney, called the Permanent Supportive Housing Rent Contribution Standard legislation, also known as 30 right now. So it's critical, as I said, to support our supportive housing tenants. I think it's definitely a no-brainer. We know already that for a lot of the affordable housing units in general that we can apply to, if you can qualify right for it and are able to get in, that that one of the things that you need to do is to prove that that you can pay 30% of your income. And so I think it's only fair that we are able to support our lowest income residents to be able to stay in their homes. And also thank you to all of the co-sponsors, and also thank you, Jordan Davis, for being such a wonderful organizer and for bringing this issue to me. And with that, I am complete.
Thank you very much, Member Morales. If there's no comment, can we have a motion on the resolution?
Chair,
So moved.
Before sorry, I don't mean to interrupt motions in seconds. I saw Member Berry in the staff.
Go ahead, Member Berry, recognize you.
I just wanted to thank you, Member Morales, for this. This is really personal to me. A lot of people don't know I was homeless 3 years. And through a veterans program is the only reason why I'm able to stay here in San Francisco. And I also worked at the CATS SRO in the Tenderloin. And believe me, I knew all those tenants personally. They're wonderful people. They all transitioned out of homelessness. And it's the only chance a lot of people really have. And we can't complain about homeless on the streets if we don't work on solutions to maintain their housing when they do get off. So thank you again, Member Morales.
Thank you, Member Berry, for bringing it home. Colleagues, any other comments? And I do want to emphasize how grateful I am to the residents of these SROs for coming here to speak about this. And I know that someone who has dedicated a big chunk of his life to this issue is Member Dufty. So Member Dufty.
I want to thank Member Berry and the honesty and emotion she brought makes me want to say that I have fought to house so many people, and here in the city and county of San Francisco, we work against ourselves. I find so much that for people who have experienced failure in their lives, raised in an abusive home, not gotten a good education, not had opportunity in life, and yet and still our city government makes it so hard. And I find that oftentimes the most reliable product we have in responding to homelessness is failure, making it so difficult for people to apply. And then this catch-22 of people who are spending 50 to 70% of their income. And I want to really thank Jordan for her leadership on this issue and really pursuing it consistently at the Board of Supervisors and to make it a reality. And I sometimes feel like I was so, I felt like a hamster just running, just trying to get people into housing. And I wish that I had been part of this battle years ago. And so I'm so grateful to see it to fruition. And I want to really, again, thank Member Berry. This is all the, 10% of our affordable housing being vacant. It's unacceptable. Vacant shelter-in-place hotel rooms. This is unacceptable. This is just not right. And I would tell you that no governmental service would be managed and put forward in the type of way that it is for people that are poor and perceived not to have political power in this city. So I'm honored to co-sponsor this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Dufty. If we can have a motion on this resolution, is there a motion?
Moved.
I'll move.
Dufty is
Very second.
second by Berry. So motion by Dufty, second by Berry on the resolutions, on the motion supporting this resolution. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain.
So King abstains, and who else abstained?
Lieutenant Governor Kanalakis.
So Lieutenant Governor abstain as well. Anyone else? So the motion passes. The resolution is supported. Thank you very much again, Member Morales, for bringing this forward. And again, to Jordan and all the advocates, thank you for your advocacy. And please keep coming back to remind us of the things that we need to push for in the party. We'll now move on to item number 10, which is a resolution that has been presented by Vice Chair Lovett. And I'm going to read that. Resolution supporting California State Assembly bill by Assembly Member Mike Gibson, AD 64, to increase transparency by requiring all corporate landlords to report on the identities of their true owners held through LLCs and LPs, and to impose an excise tax on large real estate corporations that rent out 10 or more properties in California to disincentivize corporate consolidation in the rental market and generate revenue for first-time home buyer education and affordable housing preservation. So Vice Chair Lovett, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Campos. And first, a request of our recording Secretary Lee. The bill number was assigned just this past week. So in the actual agenda 10, we will need to add 1199. In the text of the resolution in the 72-hour agenda, that has been added. And I want to thank the folks who came out with their public comments tonight, because this, all of what's happening with corporate ownership and with what one set of stakeholders sees as profits is really something that puts a whole other group of people who are vulnerable to displacement and to losing their places of rent. And so connecting with the previous resolution, we really see this whole spectrum going from being housed to being at the brink of losing their homes and being homeless. So corporate landlords are kind of part of this whole ecosystem. They've profited prior to the pandemic, including $50 billion of the B that they received in the 2017 Trump Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And then scrolling back to just more recently with the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP, in San Francisco, there were these large real estate firms, monster companies that was worth billions of dollars, that received the range of 2 to 5 million in PPP loans. And then, also Veritas, that a lot of the public commenters spoke to, received 3.6 million that Speaker Pelosi had said, should be paid back because they did not deserve to have that to support a so-called real estate management firm that really owns so many properties, so much real estate in San Francisco. And because they have these histories as bad actors, we really see a lot of people, both in the state and around the country, in jeopardy around just being a paycheck away. And with all the unemployment that we've seen, people are really endangered by these large corporations who care about the bottom line way more than they care about the people who live under their roofs. So this resolution is supporting the two parts of this bill. One is around increasing transparency around these LLCs and LPs, and the other is actually an excise tax that supports the Homes for Families Fund, which provides rental assistance, support for folks who are homeless, affordable housing, and also housing counseling services. So with that, we urge the Democratic Party to support this resolution in favor of AB 1199.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lovett. I know that we have a couple of speakers. So Member Avalos.
Thank you, Chair Campos. I'll be real quick. Our union has also, NUHW has endorsed this measure, the Gibson bill. And what's really unique about this and really significant is that we're trying to create a transparency around the LLCs, who owns these buildings. 15 years ago, I worked for a union that was organizing residential workers in buildings in San Francisco. And through our research, we were able to find that a good portion, maybe 40% of the buildings in The Tenderloin, Tender Knob, and the central part of San Francisco were owned by city apartments, Frank and Walter Lemby. Their names weren't on the buildings. There were all these LLCs, and they were just a horrible company that would harass tenants. They would sick thugs against tenants. They would do all these frivolous evictions and were terrorizing a lot of tenants in the city. This measure is super important because it would actually make sure that we're able to see who the owners of these buildings are, so we have recourse directly with the people who are causing a great havoc among the tenants of California. So wholeheartedly support this and hope you can too, colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Avalos. We're going to hear from Assembly Member Ting.
Thanks. I just want to just comment quickly that we'll be abstaining on this, not because of the content of it, but because we haven't had this bill come before us yet and we're not a co-author. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I don't see any other speakers on this. So if we can have a motion on this resolution, is there a motion in support?
So move.
A motion by Member Williams. And is there a second?
Second.
Member Thomas. So again, motion by Williams, second by Thomas. We're going to do another voice vote. So all those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? We have Ting abstaining, Loftus, Koulianakis. Who else?
Wiener.
And Wiener.
Cohen.
And Cohen. Any other abstentions? Hopefully our recording secretary got that. Thank you very much for what you're doing. The resolution passes. Thank you very much to Vice Chair Lovett for bringing this forward. Very important issue, and we appreciate the increased transparency that this provides. We'll now move on to item number 11, and this is an item that again deals with a very important issue of healthcare and universal healthcare. It's a resolution presented by Member Kim, resolution urging the California Governor, Gavin Newsom, to apply for all applicable waivers during the first 100 days of the Biden administration to permit California to create a single-payer healthcare system. Member Kim, the floor is yours, and I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Campos, and thank you for adding as a co-sponsor. And I would also love to be a co-sponsor of your resolution later on the agenda for a single-payer Medicare for All system. This resolution was brought by the Progressive Democrats of America and also NUHW, and I want to acknowledge Member Avalos as well, who's taking the lead on this with NUHW on urging Governor Gavin Newsom to apply for applicable waivers 1332 during the first 100 days of the Biden administration. So to permit California to actually create a single payer healthcare system. This is something that the state of Vermont have been discussing doing. And now that we have a Democratic administration, it's a real opportunity for California to lead. Almost 1 out of every 9 Americans lives in the state of California, and being able to institute single payer healthcare in the state would make a huge dent in bringing single payer healthcare to Americans across the country. And also being able to lead, as they say, having California lead and demonstrate that this can work and the outcomes that could happen when everyone can have affordable healthcare would be extraordinary. As Chair Campos had mentioned earlier, Assemblyman Ashkara has, and many other leaders have talked about how COVID-19 has only made single payer healthcare more urgent than ever. A lot of satisfaction and I think support for employer-based healthcare really disintegrated when people lost their jobs from the dual pandemic of both the economic recession and this public health crisis that we've seen. I do want to recognize our co-sponsors, Member Haney, Ibanez, Galata, Lovett, Thomas, Avalos, and Chair Campos for your support, and members look forward to having your support on this resolution.
Thank you very much, Member Kim, for your leadership on this. colleagues, I'm going to turn it over to Member Avalos, who's the chair of our Housing Committee.
Health Committee, thank you, Chair Campos. I'll be very brief. I want to appreciate Member Kim for bringing this resolution forward. I just want to direct people into the chat. I'll put it in again. There's a petition that's being run through the Healthy California Now website that's urging Governor Newsom to take leadership on Medicare for All in the first 100 days of the Biden administration. This is a critical time. And in order for us in California to be able to enact Medicare for All, we're going to need some flexibility from the federal government. And so this resolution addresses that by asking for the 1332 waiver that's authorized by the Affordable Care Act. So please, colleagues, it's important that the governor hear from all of us. Please go to the website and put your name in the petition and share it with your communities and your colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Avalos. Any other comments on this item, on this resolution? Again, thank you, Member Kim, for bringing it forward. Can we have a motion in support of this resolution?
So moved.
Motion by Lana. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Second by the recording secretary, Lee. So we're going to do another voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye by Baraka as well. Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Kulinakas, anyone else? I think that's it. Thank you very much. It passes. Thank you again, Member Kim, for bringing this forward. And we look forward to the Health Committee and all the work that we'll be doing to push this forward. We'll now turn to the next item, which is an item that has been brought forward by Vice Chair Mahogany, and it's item number 12, is a resolution condemning the acquittal of former President Donald Trump in his second impeachment. And I would like to be added as a co-sponsor as well. And Vice Chair Mahogany, the floor is yours. Thank you for bringing this important item forward.
Thank you, Chair Campos. Colleagues, I will try not to take too much time, but I just personally couldn't stand to let Trump's acquittal go without an objection, a formal objection from the San Francisco Democratic Party. Many folks have asked over the last few weeks, if this was not an impeachable offense, then what in fact does constitute an impeachable offense after Donald Trump incited an insurrection and it took place on January 6th. So many people believe that this goes beyond party politics, and yet there is definitely a party line that was drawn. But Democrats and a handful of some brave Republicans stood up and said that what happened wasn't right. Trump's second impeachment went through, but it did not pass, and they did not find him guilty. Largely due to the fact that Republicans refused to stand up for what is right. And those members of Congress really failed in their duty to protect our democracy by providing an acquittal for former President Trump. So I just wanted us to be able to go on the record and saying that, we condemn that acquittal, and that, we believe that former President Trump is still a present danger to our democracy. I know that we all want to move past this. We're looking towards a brighter future, but I think as Vice Chair Galata said last month, people have to be held accountable and in order for us to move forward. And so I just wanted to bring this resolution, and I'm hoping it won't be controversial, at least on this body. And I would love to have all of your support.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Mahogany. It is one of these things that the future generations will look at what happened and wonder how that could take place, that a U.S. Senate could acquit this man. But thank you very much. I know that everyone who wants to be a co-sponsor is noting it in the chat so that our recording secretary can see that. If we can have a motion in support of this resolution.
Move to pass.
Motion by Congressman Spears. Second?
Second.
Second by Member Loftus. Again, another voice. In favor of the resolution say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? If no abstentions, it passes unanimously. Thank you again, Member Mahogany, and to anyone who's watching out there, the San Francisco Democratic Party is on the record condemning the acquittal by the U.S. Senate of former President Trump in the second impeachment. Thank you again, Vice Chair Mahogany. The next item, item number 13, is an item that I brought forward. And it's a resolution supporting single-payer healthcare in California. And I won't belabor the point, but I want to give credit to Chair Mark Gonzalez of the Los Angeles County Democratic Party. They passed a similar resolution a couple of weeks ago, and they have actually presented a challenge to every county committee, every one of the 58 county committees in the state, to pass a similar resolution. And I think it was only appropriate that San Francisco, the first city and county, the first jurisdiction in California to have universal healthcare, that we would take on this challenge. I want to thank all of the co-sponsors, Member Kim, I see Vice Chair Mahogany, and others that would like to be added for adding your voice to this resolution. And the reason that it was important for me to earlier in the meeting create this healthcare committee is that not only do we pass this resolution, but we as a party are actively engaged in the lobbying and the pushing of passage of single payer. And of course, our gratitude goes to Assembly Member Kalra, I think Member Lee, Santiago, Assembly Members Lee and Santiago, and others who are fighting for this. And I look forward to continuing to push this. So if I can have a motion in support of this resolution.
I'll move this item, Chair Campos.
So motion by Recording Secretary Lee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Mata. And we're going to do another voice vote. So all those in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Lieutenant Governor Koulianakis, any other abstention? Well, the resolution passes. And again, thank you, fellow San Francisco Democrats and members of the committee for passing this. We're nearing the end of our meeting. Before we turn it over to new business, I just want to acknowledge our recording secretary, Janice Lee, for always, staying on top of a very fast-paced, moving meeting. So thank you very much. A big hand to our recording secretary and for keeping it all together and very accurate throughout. So greatly appreciate it. So we'll now move on to item 14, which is new business. So this is the opportunity to bring any item that you want to bring forward at the next meeting, or anything that, any announcements that you would like to make. The floor is open. Oh, Member Barry.
It's not confirmed, but I'd like to put on the agenda that the Black Student Union be on the agendas. They could do a presentation from Lowell High School.
Great. Member Barry, if you can work with me and our executive director to get the specifics of that, we'd be happy to add that to the agenda. Vice Chair Mahogany?
Yes, thank you, Chair Campos. I was struggling on how exactly to do this, but there has been a lot of violence directed at the API community as of late, especially in San Francisco and the Bay Area. And there has been this really divisive conversation around, the movement to defund police and the Black community, and how that may be at odds with safety for the API community. And I know that there's also a lot of API folks who push back against that narrative. And I'm wondering if there's a way that the African American the committee that we have, if we could come out with a statement in support of the API committee and standing in solidarity, and it could be maybe a joint statement that we do from the San Francisco Democratic Party. I don't know if it would be best done as a resolution or as a statement, but I'm open to working on either.
Vice Chair Mahogany, I would say that a number of us work together. I know that Member Barry has been very involved with the Black Lives Matter committee, and Member and Vice Chair Baraka as well. So maybe we can work on that and bring something to the next meeting. Okay. Member Thomas.
Thank you, Chair Campos. Just one last reminder to everybody that we are having a phone banking and call time session this Saturday at 10 a.m. We would love to have you. Please reach out to Karima or myself, and we'll make sure you're on the invite. Take care, everybody.
Thank you very much. I'll ask our Executive Director if there's anything else that she would like to report.
Nope, that's it. AJ just did it. So I'm going to send you.
I have a piece of good news. If you guys have time for a piece of good news.
Member Loftus, we need good news. So,
look, you guys, this is a point of personal privilege, but I got some late breaking news since we've been on this call. Everyone, Facebook Live, we're going to break it here. My eldest daughter, Maureen Loftus, got 3rd place in the United Irish Cultural Center's Irish soda bread making competition. I know, it's a very big deal. And you guys, she used cranberries. Okay, so no raisins, no, very edgy. So anyway, I'm very proud. Congratulations to Maureen Loftus. I thought you might like something light after a heavy meeting. So sharing our joy.
Congratulations.
Now when we're in person, she's gonna have to bake for us since you all had to listen to that. So that's the plan.
Taste it. So we need to taste it.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing that. We all need good news. Anything else? Seeing no other item before us, seeing no other business before the committee, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you, San Francisco Democrats. Greatly appreciate you, and have a wonderful evening, and be careful and be safe out there. Good night, everyone. Meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Good night.